of Tagtalk. This is Tagtalk episode 7. My co-name is Elven. We have our co-host back, Dark-Fenix, who seems to be feeling better. Hello, Dark-Fenix. How are you today, sir?
Not bad, not bad. Getting there.
Happy that you're here with me. And today, I want to talk to you guys about a magnum opus. So, by definition, magnum opus is whenever you get a work of art. Lucian's already laughing. Whenever you get a work of art, like Beethoven, Mozart, any of the great artists and any of the great producers throughout history have this one piece that tops all others. And here on the Tag Talk podcast, we've been very, very fortunate to have had amazing guests so far. We're now on episode 7 with a lot more to come. But I don't think any podcast we did or ever will ever top this one today, because not only our guest today is an amazing content creator, he's a legend, he's a hashtag, which is going to make for amazing material. But also, what's going to make this a magnum opus is this is it, guys. This is the one. This is the dryer episode. So if you're curious to what we're referring to, stick around. I know the masses have been clamoring to hear us talk about what happened with a certain dryer at a certain regional. So this is it. So obviously I'm kidding, of course. Today, my guest is hashtag Lucian Slappy from Virginia Beach. Super happy to have you with us, sir. Welcome on the show.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate it. Thank you. And first of all, thank you guys for everything y'all have been doing. It's definitely helping the community. It's just good to hear from all the different players, accounts of everything that's happened over the years. I mean, this is just truly an honor to be allowed to be participating with you guys. So thank y'all very much.
Well, thank you for joining. I'm really excited to talk to you. I'm excited to talk to everybody, but this specifically is going to be a good one because I feel that when I first started with this podcast and with Louis and Adam, you were one of the first ones to be like holy shit, this is amazing, and to kind of branch out and create the content of your own, which is really what this is about, right? What we're trying to do is keep the game alive, foster as much interest as we can from and with the community, and just also it's just fun. It's just fun to hear your story, your specific perspective. And just the fact that you've been such an active and involved member of the community for so long, and that you've been a party machine for so long, I think it's going to make very good content and very funny storytelling, basically, for today. So thank you for being on. Now, we've had certain podcasts in the past that have gone to last like 4 or 5 hours. And
we're going for 8. Just because of Onyx, we're going for 8. No, I'm just kidding.
Excellent. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to jump straight into it so that we're not here until there is the finale of Survivor tonight, as I was pointed out. So we have to make sure that Phoenix.
Yep. A side note to that, you remember everyone saying how Laser Quest is dying, what's going to happen after Laser Quest? I feel like right now when big things happen is where everyone gathers together. I haven't seen as many people wanting to be on the podcast, wanting to be involved in the community. I think everyone has time and has love to give to LQ. Like even with Lucian's Friday night stuff, even the after party, Kaya hosts the podcast, and then we're like 10 people talking. I've seen people that I haven't seen in forever, and so on. It's just really fun to know that the fact that LQ is not dying. I know that it's on a standpoint that it's going down and whatever, but love is there. People still like it. People love hearing it. I haven't seen the board with so many comments. There's like 130 comments, 140 comments, so many stuff going around. So just keep it up. We all still love the game, and just we'll get more material and try to keep it active as much as we can while we're struggling right now with the disease and all.
Correct.
Well said. And I think this is what we need, like you said, more than ever, right? We kind of need to. It's kind of cool to see the community come together and keep each other entertained and sane during these very trying times.
Yep, definitely.
So straight into it, you, sir, have had quite a history with laser tag, with Laser Quest in particular. So how did you get into Laser Quest? How did you find Laser Quest?
Well, it just goes back to when I was a little kid, back in the 80s. We had Photon, so when I was really little, my grandmother took me there, and I played it, and I fell in love with laser tag at that point. But I only went there a few times. I didn't play Photon a lot. Yes, it was an amazing system. I would love to play Photon again. But it was a lot of fun when I was a little kid, but it was nothing competitive. It was like casual fun. In the 90s, when I was in middle school, my friends were like, hey, let's go play laser tag. I'm like, I'm down. So we went out to, which is now Laser Quest Virginia Beach, but at the time it was an Ultra Zone. We went out there and I started playing, met some of the members there, and they taught me a thing or two about Ultra Zone. And I never got super competitive in it. Like I did League Night one year with them. I did one tournament up to Richmond, I believe it was one time, a long time ago. But it was a lot of fun, but it was just kind of more nonchalant, I guess, for me, because at the time I was doing lots of sports. I've always played soccer many years. I also played hockey many years as well, but I did a lot of other sports. Like I did volleyball, I kicked in football, I ran, so I was always a very active person. Then one night was right after high school. Actually, it was it was I think it was November of 2000. Yeah, it was November 2000. I was out with my friends. We actually just got done ruining somebody's football field for a homecoming. And we're like, hey, what do you feel like? My buddy goes, hey, let's go to Ultra Zone and play laser tag. I'm like, cool, that sounds good. So we drive to Virginia Beach and we get there and I'm like, what the hell is this? This doesn't say Ultra Zone. So I walk up and I remember our GM Rick at the time was there. And I'm like, what the hell is this? What happened to Ultra Zone? He's like, they went out of business. And then that's when I met Drew Puck, who was our assistant manager who worked for LQ for quite a long time until he left the company. Was like, dude, you should just give us a shot. I'm like, what is it like Ultra Zone? Like, what is this? He's like, dude, look, here's a free game. Go play and tell us what you like. If you like, you can come back out and you can pay for your game. I said, okay. So it actually caught me, which was really cool for the first game. So I went there and played, and next thing I know, I bought a membership. I was hooked.
Was there a lot of people on your first game?
Virginia Beach was always a very busy center until we lost our active GM for many years. So typically for us on a Friday or Saturday night, every game was almost always sold out. And I remember my first game when I came out, I was top 5. I was 5th or 4th. My buddies didn't do as well, but I remember from Ultrazone, so I was playing some of my Ultrazone stuff for it. But I remember coming out of the game, and there's this guy that was working a center named Professor Plum had first. I was like, how did he score those points? And I played another game. And then there was this guy named Victimizer who came out with first, and he had a crowd of people around him just cheering and chanting. And I was like, that's cool, you know. And I remember I went up and started talking to them and everything. And I played another game, and that's when I met Trunks. He was also a staff member at Virginia Beach, and I played. And he was like, dude, you should come out for members night. We're about to have our first member night. So, and member nights for us were really packed. I mean, we always had an average of 60 plus people at our member nights, which was crazy.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I think we had was over 90. We had over 90 one time.
That's insane. From a center who's never really had members nights, I'm a little bit jealous. 2 questions for you though, because obviously you have one thing that's interesting about you is you have experience with multiple systems.
Yes.
So first part of the question is, I heard that Ultrazone has the system that is the most similar to Laser Quest. How accurate is that? And second question, did you find your Ultrazone skills to be immediately transferable into Laser Quest?
To answer your first question, Zone had a very, out of all the systems I played, Zone I think is probably the closest to Quest. I've played a lot of different systems over the years with Travis and a few of the other guys. And the only difference between, like, I really feel like the big difference between Zone and Quest is Zone, you could, like, at the time, you could stun, tag.
Yeah.
So that, but I mean, like, but also too with Zone, you had to have your hand, you had to have 2 hands on the gun at all times. So with Quest, I thought it was cool where I could just go like this and tag people, but it had a lot of similar motions, I guess you could say. And what was the second part you just asked me?
So what did you find your skills were immediately transferable since you were already, like, you know, you hadn't done competition in Zone, but you were already pretty good. Did you have an easier time with Laser Quest?
Yes, I did. I mean, I kind of adapted to it pretty quickly. Tryouts, so the first year of tryouts, though, I did horrible, barely made the team, but I felt like I adapted pretty quick, and I had impressed a couple of people at our center, member-wise, on everything. So, yes, I could say I definitely adapted pretty quick to it.
What was your first year of tryout? Because this is obviously we're talking about year 2000, your first experience with Quest.
Yeah,
So what was the first
2001
year
was the
that
first
you
year for
competitive
regionals.
with Quest? 2001.
Yes, 2001.
And how did you do there?
2001. I don't like the first 2 weeks. I was great. I was kind of like in the middle of the pack with everybody, like fourth or fifth. And the last week of tryouts we had, because it was 3 weeks of tryouts, I did horrible. Like I don't know what the hell happened. I made the team. I took the 9th spot on the team. Barely beat out the. We had these two brothers that tried out Thunder and Lightning. They were both young at the time, and I barely beat out. I think it was Lightning for the, or no, it was Thunder for the 9th spot. He took alternate.
Okay.
And 2001, would there be any names that we would have recognized that made that team?
Well, if you remember Alt Dot Laser Tag board,
Yes.
Demon from our center used to talk a lot of smack on there.
Yes.
Chris, and I love the guy to death. Our first year together, me and him did not get along, just completely different views and different opinions. But it was a lot of fun, and he's a great dude, and he's still doing very well. But he was one. We had Ace. A lot of people didn't know Ace outside. You would have met him at O2. AJ, and he actually played hockey with me against me. He was a really cool guy. Onyx, we had Obi, one of our assistant managers. His sister played Cheetah. We had Chaos, or at the time he was known as Kid Chaos.
Yeah.
Trunks, which is the guy who convinced me to try out for NAC for tryouts and everything. And we had this guy called I Have Zero Skills. We always called him Skill Grow, but I have zero skills.
I do
How did you
remember him.
how did you get your name? Was it always Slappy even in zone, or did you change it throughout the way?
When I was in Ultrazone, it was Deadshot because in Ultrazone I could just point and shoot, point and shoot,
One
point
shot.
and shoot. When I came to play Laser Quest, my codename actually wasn't Slappy. My codename actually got banned before regionals. I
Ooh.
played at the time, like wrestling was kind of still big, and there was this wrestler named Jeff Jarrett. So he
Yes.
used to go, "Listen up,
Yes,
all
yes,
you
yes,
slap nuts." So I used to use the codename Slap Nuts for that reason. And I convinced the staff that it was an okay name, which God forbid, I don't know how well. And then after tryouts is when we first met our area manager, Dave Unsworth.
Oh my God.
And
Yeah.
he came in. Of course, he's like, "You guys are gonna get destroyed at regionals. Just don't have high expectations. Blah 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 blah." And then he's like, "By the way, your code name is banned. You're not allowed to use that for regionals. Slap is not a member-friendly name." So we dropped it to Slappy.
Fair enough. So 2001 first regional experience. How was the experience, and who stood out to you?
Well, first regionals was really fun. That was our first time doing a competitive laser tag team. Really, first what I would say true competitive for me in laser tag in general. Um, Regional started, and like I was talking about Chris Demon. Me and him were pretty neck and neck by that time because he was made captain of the team, and I felt I should have been captain because at the time I was captain of my hockey team. I was always picked as captain of the soccer team in every sport I did. So management picked him because he was much older. I think Chris had about, I was 18, so Chris had about 10 years on me. I want to say maybe 8 years. And so we just always butted heads on like what we should be doing for practice. And I was trying to say, "Hey, look, there's pack variances. Like you're telling me that pack over there doesn't play different than that pack over there." Because I saw that immediately. Nobody else on my team really registered in 2001 for that.
Really?
We got into it so bad that when we got to regionals, he's like, "You're sitting the first game." First game they
What?
went in, they lost because they put the alternate in, and he got destroyed. And we lost by, I think it was like just like 150, 200 points. So he put me in after that. But the biggest thing is like we didn't really. We were going up to Richmond a lot because it was in Richmond too, off of Midlothian. We were going there a lot and practicing like every week, and we met most of the Richmond guys like Blue Man Cav and all them guys. Action Voltage. I mean, they had a lot of people. Desperado. I mean, it was just good times back in those days. And like we learned the arena, but we didn't have a strategy, and we didn't really have any kind of a pack rotation. So I was kind of going there grabbing the packs I felt like were a little better than the others for the first regionals, and I had a phenomenal regionals. I mean, when they had the little individual stats, I think I'd finished top 20 my first regionals individually, and I was really happy and impressed. But like, there's some teams that stood out to me, like Team Fun. Man, those guys were nasty playing, and then Wyomissing, that was another team, and then playing Knoxville with Russ. Oh my God, Russ in himself, man, like the guy is just a monster, and he still is a monster. But like those were the three teams at regionals that just wowed me. And I met a lot of cool people too. Centerville was cool. We met Newington. I mean, just a lot of great people. Danvers, but those were the three teams that stood out to me in the East regionals.
Were you already pretty much like a social guy, like going out, talking to people, making friends, making contacts?
That's the way I've always been. I'm very outgoing, sometimes more outgoing than I should be. So
It's not a bad thing.
no,
Yeah,
but sometimes like when you just want to say hi to somebody that you haven't run into in like 10 years, you'll sit there and like I'll have a 2-hour conversation with them when I should be just saying hi and bye. I'm in the middle of trying to go.
Yeah.
You heard my wife just yet.
She agrees. She's the prime witness.
Takes me 30 minutes to say bye, she says.
You get top individual. How does the team do? Where did you end up?
We ended up taking 5th that year, and it was a little frustrating too because we ended up playing. I think Team Fun was Canton B because I think they took the B team thing, if I'm not mistaken, and Canton A was like their not good team. It had like Raphael, who was like. Guy was like 6'10", like these long arms, and he would just reach over the tower. But those guys had already came up to us and told us, "Hey, we're not planning on going to regionals. Just to give you guys a heads up, but we're going to win this, and then we're not going to drop out till before right at the deadline." And so I told my guys that, but they didn't listen. And so we ended up taking 5th, which I was very impressed with. I was really happy with how we performed. I mean, that was a big accomplishment for us as a brand new team.
Was that enough for you to advance?
No, at the time it was not.
So only 4 teams were advancing.
There was only 4 teams out of the East, if I remember correctly, that year.
Okay.
And in August hit, or whatever the deadline was, I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks before NAC, which was in Colorado Springs that year. We get the notification that, hey, they dropped out. Do you guys want to go? And of course, it's just way too last minute for half of our team.
Yeah. Money-wise and all, it's hard, yeah.
I could afford it. I almost went just for the hell of it, just to meet a whole bunch of people, but I ended up not going.
Okay, so first season under the belt. What happened in 2002?
2002, we started doing some tournaments. I did VDM that year. Michigan did Westland. If I remember correctly, I think the guys went up to Toronto too, and they got lost in the QEW around Toronto for like 2 hours, which was really funny. And they also got kicked out of that tournament because they did the flying V in the tower, but that's a whole other story in itself. We started doing those tournaments and practicing and everything. We lost Cheetah. We lost Thunder and Lightning, and we picked up Victimizer. Actually, I actually drove up to Richmond to pick him up from college at VCU and would drive him back and forth for tryouts, which was like an hour and a half there, hour and a half back to get here just to go to tryouts, and drive him back home that same night and come back. Victimizer was just a big improvement for us. Steve was just a player in himself. And we all were starting to grow. We learned about pack variances, so we were a completely different team in 02 than we were in 01.
So Victimizer must have been he was towards the top of your team, right?
At that time, Vic was the best player on our team. I mean, okay. I always feel like I'm always the top, but Vic at the time was definitely our top player. He just knew how to score points. He was smart and brilliant, and he knew where to get the points from. And people did not pay attention to him, which was great.
Right. Yeah, he kind of flew under the radar a little bit, but I remember he was an extremely skilled individual. So 2002 regionals was, I believe it was in Richmond as well, but the other center, is that correct?
Yeah, Richmond won downtown.
And how did it go there?
It was a lot of fun. I remember that's when all of Eastern Canada got put in the East regionals, and I remember the first time going to the hotel before even getting to the center. I met like Decoy and a whole bunch of people. And then I remember getting to the center and playing a practice game, and I remember this guy running around just yelling "Doom Cannon" at people. We're sure we know who that is.
Who was that?
Alex? It was Elven.
No clue. I don't know. No one will ever confirm or deny. Yeah, it was absolutely me, and I didn't really speak English as much as I speak now. Yeah. But I had this amazing bejesus pack, and I was like, "Doom Cannon."
Pack 17, by the way. I remember which pack that was. Because Sith Lord pretty much owned all of regionals that year. He was actually first on that score monitor for like 5 years after that. No lie.
That doesn't surprise me. I played this pack with practice, and then this is the last I ever saw of this pack because yeah, Sittler took it, and everybody who would go on to play this pack would score like 800, 900 points. It was ridiculous.
Correct.
Holy crap!
And that was the first year we actually had a pack rotation. I actually took last pack.
Now, was that something that the team voted on, or is that something you volunteered for?
I volunteered for because at the time because there was pack variances and I was smart at playing, so I could actually win games on last pack. I knew how to win games on last pack, so I would play the cleanup crew, and sometimes too I could actually go and take on the people who were wearing the top packs. It was weird. I don't know. It was all because when I first played Richmond 1, it was 4 IRs, and I think Richmond 1 was the last center convert from 4 IRs to the brand new packs, because that's when it became Shoulder Quest. And
Right.
I just knew what to do. I don't know. I was just smart. I mean, I had a pretty good. I don't know where I finished individually, but I had a pretty good tournament. Our team did well because we had a pack rotation. Demon was doing great with everything, and everybody was just performing.
So very positive year. You ended up qualifying. I believe you beat us and Charlotte in playoff, and then you made finals. And you
Correct.
ended up qualifying for NECs, which was in Norwich that year.
Correct.
And you went to Norwich. How was that experience? Like first time like on the big show?
Well, that was awesome. I mean, I met a lot of crazy people. I remember like laying in my bed at the hotel room. I remember Cougar and Aunt Lou walking in the room, and they have a video camera, and they're like just filming, like, "Hey, you see that guy over there?" And all of a sudden, I see Cougar just elbow drops me right in the middle of the bed. I'm just like, "What the hell?" And we had met, we'd met a few people before that from like we had met the Rochester guys at VDM that year, in which they whooped our ass, but it was a lot of fun. But I met this guy, Malfester, Joe, and I remember at Norwich, before I'm even to the center, elevator opens up. I'm getting ready to go downstairs because we're about to leave to go to center, and all of a sudden, Joe looks up as he's coming out of the elevator. He sees me. He just tackles me. We break a table with a mirror and everything right in the hotel.
Wow.
Hit me hard. My back hurt all weekend from that. But Norwich was a great experience. Love the maze. I wish I would have got back there to play it one more time. Had a lot of fun, but also was a very eye-opening experience as well. What was that, Alex?
And how was it an eye-opening experience?
Well, everybody always talk trash about the East, like East is bad, East this, East that. East only has like a couple good players, yada yada yada. And I just didn't like hearing that. Like I'm a competitive person, so I was like, oh, let's make a name for ourselves, guys. Like we practice and practice and practice, we'll do really well. And our first game we played against Austin, and I'm not sure who the other team was, and we actually won. And I was just tickled, and we started to speak East Chan and Norwich, because all the East teams had won their first round. I think you remember that, Alex. And we were just pumped. And then our next game was Appleton and Denver. What an eye opener! Wow. I didn't know what the hell to expect. I just heard that Denver was the team predicted to win that year. And I know they had won the previous year, and I didn't really know much about Appleton other than Cougar elbow dropping me in my room. But I remember before the game went up to, I remember walking up to, I can't remember, it was somebody from Appleton or somebody from Denver saying, "Hey, so where do you guys want to play?" Because that's what the stuff I saw at Norwich was. Where do you guys want to play? Like, oh, we're going to play the left tower. Cool. We go in, we walk up to left tower. Next thing you know, I watch Denver and Appleton walk down, go to the right tower, and I'm like, this is not going to be good. We got destroyed. I was really pissed off the game too because somebody, and it was all accidental, but somebody from Denver accidentally hit me in the head with their laser. They apologized to me, came up to me after the game and everything, but that was an eye opener, and I was like, yeah, we are not prepared for this at all. Because at VB2, the difference between us and a lot of the regular Laser Quest centers, and Alex, you know what I mean. We don't have towers. We have giant ramps that go around our arena. We're a floor team, so that was a big adjustment for us having to play a lot of tower games, big time.
And especially in Norwich, it was very clear cut. Yeah, the left tower, the right tower floor game was pretty much like non-existent. So we had very much the same path in which our first game I think we won as well, and then like the second or third game we played Denver, and we were like, oh, yeah. We were impressed because Denver always had this reputation of having more like attributing their success more to teamwork and positioning more than individual skill. Not to say they did not have individual skills, but they were a little bit less flashy. Was that your impression as well?
Oh God, yes. The team, individually wise, I didn't think there was anybody I couldn't really touch other than Knock at the time, but their teamwork was ridiculous. It's like they almost did like a triangle, like how they would play. They had 3 here, 3 here, and 3 here. It was just beautiful to see. I was thoroughly impressed.
So 2002, I'd say, would be kind of like a cornerstone if I look at results-wise for VB,
Yeah,
because you go to an EC, so you have success at regionals, you make finals. You go to an EC and you take like something like 15th or like something of the sort. But then after that, you always had pretty much always successful years in the years that you actually like attended an EC and competed, right?
right.
So 2003 regionals were in Centerville.
Yes.
What did you implement from having played, having a few seasons, having 2 regionals under your belt, and having seen the big show? What did you implement in VB after that?
After that, we started doing, we have our long ramps in our arena, so we kind of just started clustering all of us onto long ramps to play in tight quarters and tight spaces. The very top of our arena, it's kind of like, you could say it's a little tower, but it's not really a tower. It's just like a giant triangle. We kind of use that a lot for like learning positioning and everything else. And we started practicing more on like the different pack variants. We tried to divide up our talent as evenly as we could. We did a lot of different ways to practice. And like this week was like playing all the ramps. Next week was playing that little tight cubby area. Then we'd play on the floor. Then, we'd always take turns rotating like the good packs and the bad packs just to see how everybody performed.
And were the results immediate?
Yes, and we picked up some new people too. Like we lost Demon and Ace. Uh, we lost somebody else too. We still had Vic at the time on the team. We picked up Hydro Adam, which
Yep.
a good friend of mine. I knew him from high school and everything. He was actually working at Laser Quest.
Cool guy too.
Yeah,
I remember him.
we picked up Ghetto Gump, which was an okay player, nothing fancy, but he knew how to get points at least. He was smart. And we went to regionals that year. And the cool thing was Rochester didn't have a team that year, so Ryan kind of drove over and kind of hung out with us at regionals and just gave us a lot of pointers at regionals that year. And we did really well. I think we took second that year, if I'm not mistaken. And we were just thrilled because we know we're getting closer and closer to actually winning a regionals eventually. So we were super excited.
And who did you take second to in Centerville?
Centerville. That's a good question. I don't remember who the hell we lost to.
Would have been like something like Akron, Kenton, Richmond, maybe.
I forgot who we played in finals that year, to be honest with you. I believe Knoxville was in there, and I think Knoxville took third. We took second. I can't remember who we lost to that year, but I remember it was a good finals. I'm sure Ryan remembers, or Sean, or one of them. But I mean, we did really well. We were really happy with how we performed, taking second at Centerville.
And obviously, you qualified for NEC. Did you go that year?
We did not go that year. I think it was NRH that year. I think
2003 would have been NRH, yes.
NRH, yeah.
Texas.
No, we didn't go. It's the problems that we had with VB. Some of us were prepared and had the money, and other people just didn't follow through. It's kind of like an ongoing story for us, I guess you can say.
Yes.
So no, we ended up not going, which was really sad because we had accomplished so much in a short period. I felt because we were still doing a lot more tournaments. We were also running our own tournament as well. So
at that time, So let me preface this question by saying that I had Ryan on my podcast, and we discussed kind of, it was not necessarily like Virginia Beach mentality of having wanting to win, wanting to do well at NEC. It was always kind of like a big issue for Virginia Beach, which is a little bit of a shame because throughout your history you had so much talent that you could have been a contender and you could have potentially eventually won an EC. So during this time, the people that are attending side tournaments, is it everybody on the team, or is it certain individuals that are more driven than others?
It's certain individuals that are more driven than others.
Okay.
I mean, we had I'll go for another year for that though. But it was just certain individuals that just didn't save up, and everybody was young too. Like I was very fortunate enough, I was working full time for my father, and I was making pretty decent money, so I was able to save and travel. I mean, I was always smart with my money too. Like, okay, NAC is gonna be announced in January, so I'm gonna start saving in January and put $20 away a week. Plenty at that time, that was plenty to travel, and we fundraised too, which was the bad part because normally we would have enough to cover our hotels and our gas to get there or around. The big thing was just buying your plane tickets and maybe paying for your food a little bit.
What did you do
Yeah.
for fundraising? Just curious.
Well, I used to go up there on Saturdays, and I would have
Okay.
pinatas for the birthday parties. And LQ would donate a couple comp passes. I throw a whole bunch of candy in it and everything, and I would sell raffle tickets for the pinata and $1 raffle ticket. I mean, I was making about $100 every Saturday raffle.
That's
Just
such a cool
That's
idea.
smart. That's
Yeah.
really smart.
It was great, and at that time too, we had a little refrigerator that I knew somebody at Coca-Cola. I have a 1951 Coke machine, so in my store at the
Nice.
time, I used to sell bottle Cokes for like 10 cents. It was just a little gimmick. So I had Coca-Cola account. So LQ got a little Coke machine, and I would fill it up with Cokes every week, and they would just sell it for a fundraiser for us for money for NAC, and everything would just go towards like our entry fee and our practice games when we got there, and like I said, gas and hotels and everything.
It's actually pretty cool. We never did anything in terms of fundraising whatsoever, and hence the reason why we had to miss out on a few NEC as well. But anyway, how was 2004? How was the season 2004? You're coming back from a second place. You're always improving. How did that go?
2004, I think it was Canton, Ohio.
Yes.
2004, I kind of got screwed over a little bit. That year, I actually flew into regionals that Saturday night. I had issues with work. I flew off to helps. I had to work that Saturday. So literally, I left work, went straight to the airport, barely made my flight, and flew there and got in. The guys were going over with everything that was going on. I'd already played Canton earlier that year or the year before. I played at the 6-man.
Okay.
That they had there, and I already knew the maze. I remembered how it played and everything. I was like asking guys like who was playing where, who was playing here, how's it going, how are the packs playing, and we went over like strategy. And the next day was the first game was I think we had one more regular game left before playoffs.
That's usually what happened on
I
the
went
Sunday.
in there and I just destroyed shit. I just tore it up, and they're like, "This is what we've been missing." Because I remember just talking to Vic about everything, and then playoffs went very well. Then finals was a different story. Finals we ended up playing Canton and Rochester, and Papa Smurf, God rest John's soul, awesome kid. A lot of great memories of him. I didn't really know him too well, but I knew him enough. And just always just nice to me. Him kicking his damn cell phone in the parking lot was always the funniest thing to remember. But they were just on fire. I mean, it was their home maze. I mean, if people say teams don't have an advantage in their own home maze, you're crazy. And Rochester had a phenomenal team that year, and we had a pretty good, strong team as well. But they were just Ohio was just playing out of their mind. I mean, I just remember. I think John won almost every game, or Fire Fiend won almost every game of regionals. Looks good, babe. It was just crazy. They played well. They won it, and they deserved it. I mean, there's no questions about it. I know Ryan talked about it was a little disappointing for Rochester, I think, but it was a fun finals. We took third. It was great to actually play in like a finals, like at least 2 top tier teams being in there.
I remember I was actually marshalling. Yeah, I was marshalling that regionals in Canton, and I do remember I was expecting Rochester to take it, to be honest, but I remember Canton just being on fire, like you said, Papa Smurf, No Fear, I think, Fire Fiend, just every single game, like just bombing it, and it was really high caliber, and it was very cool because it contributed to beat the stigma of like, oh, East has no talent, right? Like whoever would have witnessed those talent, that was Laser Quest at a very high level. And there's absolutely no shame in you guys taking third that year because it was the talent was just there. And then 2004 finals were actually in Rochester, so kind of close to home. Did Virginia Beach attend?
Yes, they attended. Unfortunately, I did not attend. I had work issues. I had responsibility. When you're in a family business, family comes first. Like my wife will always come first. And I felt bad. I had to drop out right at the first or second week of August. I had lost at the time. I had 2 stores, and I had lost 3 employees. And it's hard to train people, let alone train people that you trust where you can leave to go out of town, let alone 9-10 hours away. Rochester was like 9 or 10 hours for us to drive. And so it was one of those things where I couldn't commit. So we put myself on the alternate spot for it. And I still practiced. I paid for my NAC registration out of the little bit I owed from the money that we had played. I, gave. I can't remember who I gave. We had raised money at the VB. I think that was the first year we ran VB. No, it was the second year we ran VB. Those VB 4-man. I remember giving the cash to. I think it was to Trunks. I think for the team, for like hotel and everything. And I was really sad I couldn't go. They actually they actually did pretty good. I think they took they were just right out of making playoffs, like 10th, 11th seed, and Richmond got destroyed with Knack because I think Richmond took like second from last or something.
Ooh. So,
But
question for you then. So, if you're working that weekend, did you have how often did you refresh the laserquest.com page to see the results of NEC?
I was checking it, but I was also getting phone call up to dates because I remember Ryan called me up saying, "Oh my God, corporate stupid. We told them to redo these pack sets. They're doing these pack sets. So far, it's won like 4 or 5 games in a row by a lot."
Right.
And then I got a phone call from him like 30 minutes later. "Oh my God, you're not gonna believe this." I'm like, "What? They're restarting that?" And I started laughing.
I remember.
To redo the packs and listen.
I remember, and I was kind of happy that this was happening because it meant I just got to marshal more games and just watch more games. Oh man, but it must have been pretty grueling though. Especially for now you've been putting 3-4 years of your time trying to grow this team, and as you said, you had a kind of a leadership role in the team. So, but I completely understand, and good on you because I feel that there's more than a few people that have sacrificed very important responsibilities for Quest over the years. So, if you had to do it again, would you make the same decision?
I would. I'd make the same decision because work. My family business comes first.
Yeah.
And I would make the same. Even though I'd hate doing it, I would still make the same decision. And one thing that really upset me, I would say, with the team that year is the only thing I wanted was a shirt and the pen because I couldn't go.
Okay.
And I can't remember. And we had a dick on our team named Chaos who was just thought he was God's gift to Laser Quest, thought he was God's gifts to women, yada 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 yada.
Yeah.
And I was told that he took the shirt and the pen and threw it away because I didn't come. Yeah, and that was the only thing I wanted because I couldn't go. I mean, I contribute so much, but it's whatever, Shit happens.
So let us try to use our clout and we're influencers, right? Because we're content creators. So if anybody has a 2004 pen and shirt,
and
give it to Lucian, ship it to Lucian.
I actually have the Knack pin, so which is great. I actually have it on my table over here, but I just don't feel like I got all much stuff piled on my table right now, so I don't feel like digging through it to show it. But I got a pen. I don't care about the shirt. The pen was perfect. It just sucked I couldn't attend that year because I love Rochester's Maze.
I might have a 2004 shirt, but it would be extremely faded. So
no worries.
Let's talk after the podcast.
Yeah.
Okay. So 2004 was kind of a bummer for you. Couldn't attend for personal reasons. 2005, straight back at it. Regionals in Knoxville, I believe, right?
Yeah, they were in Knoxville.
How was that?
That was a different animal. We were actually expecting us to win that year. We had a great team. Except the only thing was that year we had lost. I think that was the year we lost Vic. Yes, we had lost Vic for Knoxville. Vic ended up playing with Richmond. It was just he's living in Richmond, going to college, and that was about the time I think he was getting out, and he just decided to play up there, which makes sense. I understand it. To me, it was I felt a little betrayed because Steve, I will always still consider we're friends. We might not talk that much. I appreciated that he had me in his wedding, and he was there in my wedding. He's just a great dude all around. Right. I was a little hurt that he chose to play with the Richmond guys because at the time, Richmond kind of had combined with the other part of the Virginia Centers. Ted Monkey, I believe was his code name, from Potomac Mills, had just started working at Richmond 1. I think he was an assistant manager. And so, they had picked up Ted on their team, and at the time, Brian Phoenix from Rochester had moved down. And originally, Brian was going to move down to VB, but he decided to go to Richmond. So he moved there, and that's at the time, Alex and Jordan and Kevin were playing really out of their minds.
Lots of talent.
And those two guys are very underrated. They are top caliber players, and people just don't give them the credit that they deserve. They had Izip, who had been playing with them for quite a few years. And so they kind of They just did great, and we kind of had a falling out in our last game in finals because it was us, Richmond, and Knoxville in finals. Russ was untouchable at regionals that year. Russ,
As Rich is.
I think Russ won almost every game in Knoxville, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Russ was discussing because we had gone up to Knoxville about a month or two beforehand with the whole NAC team to play the arena. We drew out the maps, had our strategy and everything. But we had one of our guys had an altercation. Hydro had an altercation with Phoenix. I don't really remember the details. It was a little physical encounter, and Hydro and Trunks just lost their shit. They just went ape shit, and they just didn't care when we went into the last game of finals. We really weren't down that much in Knoxville, and them just giving up. And that was the first year that Ryan played with us.
Yeah, I was gonna say, any noteworthy addition to your roster that year?
We lost Vic and we picked up Ryan, which was a great, huge pickup.
Yes.
But I mean, Vic was VB. I mean, at the end of the day, if you ask me if I would rather have Ryan or Vic, and nothing against Ryan, I love Ryan Def, but at the time, like Vic and I were really close too. I would have loved to have had Vic, but Ryan was just a plus. I mean, who's not going to say that?
Not bad, yeah. He's up and coming.
It was our whole game was thrown out. The way those two had acted, and it was sad. And I understand it. I mean, I got to a physical altercation one time where I actually checked one of my own teammates at a tournament. I'm not going to lie on that. It takes a lot to piss me off, but it did. Right. But I understand that it just ruined everything, and we were just we were done. We were done. I think we took third. I think because we should have beaten Knoxville and at least had second, but just the whole team morale was just spread everywhere. So it sucked. And it was very sad. I mean, I was really irritated when I left there.
Well, but still, for having an off year, you take third place. You still make finals. You still advance. Not too bad, right? I guess that just speaks to the testament of the level of players or the level of play that you already had on your team, especially like even after losing like Vic and everything. Did you guys attend NAC?
Well, that affected us for attending NAC because Trucks and Hydro were done playing.
Oh,
we're done. No more. They walked away. We had tried to pick up other people to go that had tried out, but they just didn't want it. It was very frustrating not to go that year. Very frustrating because I mean, of course, too, I wasn't the most excited about going because of what had happened at regionals. I couldn't remember where NAC was that year. You remember off the top of my head?
2005. No, I don't remember. It was probably some Gwinnett, Texas.
No, it wasn't Gwinnett. Gwinnett was 2007.
Might have been Hoffman, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I can't remember where it was, but we ended up not going. It was actually, I think that was Mesquite.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, quite possible. Yes, it was. You're right.
Yeah, that was the year of the Dry County, apparently. So, but we didn't go. I actually almost flew out there just to go hang out and party with everybody because I met everybody at O2, and I just love meeting everybody. But we didn't go, as always, due to dropping out and then a few other people not saving.
And then you heard it was a dry county, so like, what's in it for you anyway if you're not going to be playing?
Nah.
So even though a bunch of people retire, you get kind of an off year, you're kind of disappointed. You still choose to come back to 2006, right?
Yeah, we did. 2006 was back at Richmond too. First year we played regionals.
And how did that go?
That was a phenomenal year. That was the first year I can truly say, like, there was no problems with practice. Like, we practiced Tuesdays and Thursdays. When we weren't playing in VB, we were driving up to Richmond sometimes once or twice that weekend. I mean, almost every other week we were up in Richmond playing that center. And Richmond wasn't playing that much. It's their home center, but they weren't playing that much. A few of the guys' egos just got huge. Kind of exploded, I guess you can say. And they weren't really practicing much. I guess they thought they were just going to sweep, that they had the best team. But we were up there just constantly practicing. And, Ryan at the time had just moved to our area, so Ryan didn't play regionals with us that year, but he was kind of like driving us, showing us stuff. That's when, like, Zeus. Zeus had played with us in Knoxville his first year, and then the next year, like Scott went from like probably being our low half on our team to like one of our top 2-tier
Yeah.
players. I mean,
It was amazing.
jumped up, and he's never gotten his due credit. I mean, he's a phenomenal player, and
Yeah.
Phil Jive Turkey, same thing, just shot up, and I think it was like us three always like demoing Ryan, and I mean, we were just playing and playing and playing, and we had picked up one of our old players, got milk from our first year of regionals.
All
That
right.
was who I was missing, Wade. He actually worked for LQ at that time too. And we went to, I mean, like I said, we were just practicing. I mean, it was just no drama. It wasn't your typical VB stuff. We went to regionals, we played 9, and, I would have loved to have Ryan on the team, but Ryan was unable to attend that weekend. But we went in there, and of course, we lose our first game to Akron. I don't know what it is with them guys.
As you do.
This is our first game. And we went through and we just started just destroying. We like just clicked. We changed a couple things after our first game, and we just played. And we had picked up Earnhardt that year on our team, who isn't, I would say, the most skilled LQ player. Great guy, but just not the most skilled player. But he did his part. He did what we asked him to do. Every game he was scoring at least 100 points, except for the last game of finals. Finals, I believe it was us, Richmond, and Knoxville. I believe it was
A repeat.
Knoxville.
Yeah.
Unless Akron was in there, I can't remember. But we just played well. We won the first game. I remember Richmond won the second game, but they weren't up by much. But their egos were just blown out of proportion. And we went to
expected
that
to win.
game,
Yeah.
and I remember like Phoenix coming up to me, and he has like the best pack on the arena. I'm on like I was still running low packs at that time, and I'm just sitting there just beating his ass. He just takes off. Then I remember Vic coming over, and I just start beating him, and he takes off. And the whole time we're playing, which was the most brilliant strategy ever, is everybody was chasing Earnhardt because Jeremy was not. He was definitely the worst person in that finals. Nothing against you, Jeremy, but I love you to death, but you were the worst. And so Jeremy was running a circle around the floor. So everybody was chasing him. So I'm just sitting there just tagging everybody as they're running around, chasing him, trying to max him out. Jeremy went negative. We came out, we won. We flipped shit. It was awesome. Just saying, hey, we won regionals. Because people thought Ryan was going to be playing with us that year. And we went without Ryan, and we said, hey, look, we are actually a good team. Ryan's, yes, he's a bonus, but we did this without Ryan, and we were just so proud. And we
That
met
must
up
have
with
been
Ryan.
so rewarding. Yeah.
It was so very rewarding. And we met up with Ryan afterwards in Williamsburg, Virginia, at Pearson's. He treated us all to barbecue, which was awesome. He didn't have to do that, but I mean, it was great. So we had a lot of drive to go to NAC that year. But then,
so is this your first? This is your first, obviously, regionals win. Is this your first tournament win?
No, it was not my first tournament win. I had won VDM and
Okay.
a few other different tournaments. But this was our first, like, what I consider like a big tournament win.
Yes.
It's always,
and it
it's
must have been
always,
like
yep,
regionals
something
is
important,
regional.
right?
Yeah,
Originals is
it
originals.
was very important, especially doing it pretty much with an all VB team, except for Earnhardt, who was from Centerville, then he played for Newington, and then he got stationed here. So just winning with an all Virginia Beach team was just, it was probably one of my top wins of all time still to this day.
So how did you guys do at NAC that year?
Well, the same thing that we do every year.
You can't lose if you don't shoot, right? So.
We had the same issue with the same people. And at that point it got too frustrating, and we started talking after not going to NAC that year. A few of us did, and at the time, like, Knoxville wasn't looking at having a team, so we're kind of going into next year now, Alex, which would be 2007.
And I think 2007 was actually a very important year for you guys, right?
Yeah, we played Centerville that year, but we had decided, like, enough's enough. Like, how can we get rid of the dead weight on team? How can we get the people who are dropping out? Like, LQ wasn't, like, not denying people from trying out on the team. And at that time, half after what we did to Richmond, half of those guys had dropped off, and a few of them decided to try out for us that year. And the whole, Russ decided to play with us that year because he was actually Russ was actually looking at moving in with me because at the time I was getting ready to buy a house, And
Okay.
Russ was actually planning on moving to Virginia Beach, which a lot of people don't know. Stop it for a second. I'm getting a little dehydrated. Give me 1 second.
Sure, no
Take
problem.
your time.
That's just
Oh, I'm not drinking for once, guys. Practice water.
practice. Yeah, practice.
But like we Richmond didn't have enough for tryouts, so some of those guys were going to come down and play with us. And at the time, Knoxville didn't have enough to have tryouts, so Russ is like, and actually I take that back. I think the year before, I don't think Knoxville was in finals with us because I think it was Ohio because I don't think Knoxville went or that year, I don't think Russ played with them because Russ had sat out a year if I remember correctly.
That sounds about right.
Or I could be wrong. I don't remember the details exactly. But we had tryouts and we had approval for Russ to try out our center. We also had approval for Richmond guys to try out our center because we were going to barely have enough to make a team, so we got them to come down. And when it was tryout time, we had 30 people try out. I don't know where the hell all these people came from. Half of them showed up, weren't even on the list, and our GM's like, "Well, I'm gonna let them try out," And so we did tryouts I think we did it over a 2-week period instead of a 3-week period because we talked to the general manager about because Russ was driving at the time 8 hours to come over and try out, and we had the Richmond guys coming down, and we had put together this very disgusting team.
So what was the roster?
What's the roster? I don't really completely remember that all offhand. We had Ryan, Scott, Phil, myself, Jordan, Voltage, Action, Obi, and Russ. And Russ barely made the team. Russ took our 9th spot.
Wow.
And I can't remember who our alternate was.
Okay.
But we had this sick roster. And we're like, oh my god! And we actually have a team that we know Oh, Zeus was also on the team as well. I don't think I said Zeus Turkey. We had this team that we knew we could do damage with at NAC. And it was very scary on paper. I mean, at least from the a lot of people didn't take it serious because a lot of people didn't play some of us from the East because we never showed up. But it was a very scary team on paper, and we had the right way of doing the team for packs and everything else and what to practice. So one of our teammates got very pissed off that he didn't make the A team.
Okay.
And I guess he messaged Heartless or somebody because we weren't going to say anything about our roster until the regionals.
Right.
Because we knew the community would throw a fit. But at the time, we were seeing other teams that had done it. Ohio's done it for years. The Akron, Canada guys going back and forth. I mean, Toronto kind of did it as well. Texas teams kind of did it as well. It was very Chicago a little bit. It was just kind of a common practice, except we weren't in a metropolitan area.
Right.
So our roster got leaked. People threw a fit.
Yes.
Everybody kicked off. Now, we were sending 3 teams to regionals that year. 3 teams.
That's insane.
A, B, and C. That killed it for everybody. A lot of those people were really upset at what they did to us, and none of them wanted to play. A lot of them were newer people, too. So I felt like we would have taken 2 teams more than the 3 teams. But still, that was a lot of people.
Yeah.
And so we had to go through the list and pick up people. And we had picked up this new kid called Converge on our team and a few other people. We got Onyx back on the team. Chaos. I can't remember if Chaos made the original team or not. A few other people. And we're back to square one again.
Right. And
so,
especially those are regionals, you're not sure are going to attend if you qualify as well. As if you
we were going to go because it was in Gwinnett, which was a 9-hour drive for us down in Atlanta. So we were going to go because we could drive down there and kind of drag people. There was no excuses because you didn't have to fly.
Yeah.
We had my car and we had Ryan's car. There's no excuses.
Right.
And I get to regionals. I get there a day before everybody. I'm actually hanging out with some of the people from Lexington, like Game Girl and a few of those people and everything. A few of us got there the day before. And then I get a call from Scott. Hey, we lost a couple people, and I don't remember exactly who we lost. I know we lost Converge, who was a new guy that had a lot of promise, actually. And we found out a couple weeks later because he wanted to get a tattoo. Was why he dropped on us.
Wow.
But we lost a few people, so
Bullshit.
we call. I'm talking to Scott every day. You hear my wife bullshit.
That was awesome.
I call Scott. I'm like, and we're just talking back and forth on the phone. Scott's is our captain that year. Scott was our captain the year before. I just kind of didn't want to deal with the drama of being a captain.
Yep.
And calls me up and we're just like going over it. And he tells me like him and the GM had gone over the entire list of everybody at Tryout, and everybody said no. So we finally hit Jordan and Kevin to play. And I think we had one of our players. I think Phil had dropped off for regionals too because he was just upset on the whole circumstances that had happened. So we were able to get Jordan and Kevin.
So this is the
After
Friday
going through the entire list.
This is the Friday before regionals?
Yes, this is the day that they're driving up, and those two are in the car before this is even approved.
Wow.
Coming up through regionals and center and yeah, that was in Centerville, Ohio, which is like a 9.5, 10-hour drive for us. And we get approved, and I just say hush hush at regionals. I don't say a word to anybody because I knew somebody was going to flip shit.
Yes.
And of course, Akron flipped shit on it. However, our first game when we played them, we lost. So, but we made up after that because after that we didn't drop a single game the rest of that tournament because we kind of evaluate things like we always do. But yeah, so we crushed regionals. We had Ohio, Akron, and we had Charlotte in finals, and we went in there and we just crushed it. Nobody was touching us. Nobody was stopping us. I mean, there was the last. I can't remember which game it was. We won through 8, and then the 9th person had 22nd, which was DJ Puppy. So, but I mean, we crushed it. I mean, I think we set a record for at least biggest marginal win, at least for regionals, maybe NAC just in general. I mean, we won by a lot. I mean, the first game we won over by 2,000 points from second place.
Wow.
I mean, right now Ohio on the groups are saying that we bootlegged with Charlotte. We didn't bootleg with Charlotte. Charlotte was playing pretty much straightforward. At least everybody I saw. If you guys feel like it was bootlegged, I'm sorry, it was not. I apologize that you guys feel like that, but we were playing out of our mind. And I remember talking to Steve Garrett with Scott after that was all over, and Steve Garrett's like, "Wow, you guys are going to wreck faces at NAC. Like I think nobody is gonna be able to touch you. I'm excited about watching this team." So results are posted for regionals and everything else, and 2 weeks later, some people throw a fit about our roster, and I got pissed. I mean, I remember Scott talking to Steve Garrett on the phone. I remember talking to Steve Garrett out on the phone. I was livid on that. And saying you guys can't go. If you guys go, you're disqualified. You'll be playing with induction the whole time. Which I don't understand how you can allow somebody to play one thing and then you say no on the other. And I know Steve talked about this a little bit. The Force did, but it's a crappy decision.
It's inconsistent.
Correct. I mean, you had. Yeah. I mean, nothing against like the Toronto guys, but there was a lot of teams jumping around there. I mean, you had the same thing in Texas. I mean, fucking, with the Houston guys and Vince playing with them that year, and Steve Garrett's answer was, "Well, I promised Vince that he could play, so I'm not change my word on it." Okay, you promised we could keep this team for NAC, and you're taking back your word, so you're contradicting yourself on that, and it was very frustrating. So we actually almost didn't attend Gwinnett.
Yeah.
We ended up picking up Trunks to play with us. Trunks hadn't played in about 2 years. Right. He was living in Michigan. We paid for his plane ticket out of fundraising money. We paid for his plane ticket to come down from Michigan down to Atlanta to play with us. One of our players, Calypso, I think he wasn't on a regional team, but he came to NAC with us. He twisted his ankle. And so he was hobbling around. Like we really, after our team got banned, dismantled 2 weeks after regionals, I don't think we ever really practiced or had a real practice after that before Gwinnett. I had gone down earlier that year, played the PAX with Onyx. We went down there and drew a map of the arena. And so we had all this, and we talked a little bit of strategy, but we just kind of went in there and just kind of did the motion. Like we just did PAX and didn't really have a strategy. And I'll be honest, and people are going to argue with me, but I really feel like a lot of teams weren't playing to par that year, at least. Like we run down team with no practice, and I feel like we were hanging with them with a really shitty VB team. and we made consoles that year in NEC, which I was shocked with that team. There's no lie. I think it was Hoffman, Houston, and Brampton in finals that year. That's when Houston won.
Mhm.
But I really wasn't impressed with any of the teams there. I really wasn't.
Who did you play in the playoffs?
We played Brampton actually.
Was it
Brampton. I remember after the first 2 games, Brampton. I think we were up barely, or Brampton was barely up on us.
okay?
But I mean, we didn't have a drive. I mean, we really didn't have a drive.
It's pretty impressive because that's on paper. I know we've touched on that with Adam's podcast, with Excalibur's podcast, and they had a really off weekend. But on paper, this is one of the best teams that Brampton ever produced. So it's impressive that you were able to keep it this close with 2 down, basically with a huge.
Yeah, I think the first 2 games I know we kept it close. The third game, like Josh was walking around with a gimp leg because he rolled his ankle, and I don't know, we just didn't have the drive, and it sucked because like I'm trying to play my butt off, Ryan's trying to play his butt off. A few people that are trying, and our bottom half is just getting crushed.
Right. So I don't know if you're familiar, but there's a Wikipedia page about Laser Quest.
Yeah.
And there was an innate and somebody edited the 2012 chance to Virginia Beach.
Yeah. I don't know who's done it because I know it's been fixed twice, and I have my suspicions of actually, the funny part is I don't think it's somebody from here that's doing it, which is the funny part about it.
It's probably Echo or something. But anyway, where I'm going with this is there is a world, or in your opinion, when you frame it like this, 2007 could have said VB as a knack chant for real, though.
That would have been the year. 2006 and 2007 would have been were our 2 best shots. All honesty, 2006 we had this super high, just winning regionals on our own because Ryan would have been able to play nationals with us.
Right.
He just couldn't attend regionals with us. But we were on just a whole nother high after we won in Richmond. I mean, we were playing out of our mind. That year was a strong year for us. But Gwinnett, if we would have had our team, had our original team that had Russ on it, I mean, even without Russ on the team, we would have wrecked heads. Having Russ on it would have just been a bonus.
So was there Juggernaut as well? Was Juggernaut supposed to be on that team?
No, Juggernaut never tried out for. Juggernaut did not try out till 2009, which was our last year. That's when him and B Money came up from Charlotte.
Okay. So what? Obviously, Russ is an amazing skill player. He's a legend. He's criminally underrated, I think. But I'm curious, what would have been the pack assignment had you had your original roster with the Richmond guys and Russ?
Russell first pack. I think
where he belongs.
I think we're gonna have action on second pack. I think everything else was just kind of like we didn't really care after that. We were gonna have we had the talent. Everybody else on our team knew how to play what pack. I don't remember the exact details. I know Russ and Alex were top 2 packs. I think Scott was 3rd. I think Phil was 4th. I think we had Ryan on 5th. I was actually going to play a bottom pack and the remainders, and we would have slaughtered because we knew how to play each other. We knew what to do.
Man, this must have been a little bit of a heartbreak. So many years like trying to build a team. It's bittersweet because it is your most successful, like in terms of result, it is your most successful finish at NEC. But I guess like the what is something that like is gonna haunt you, right?
It doesn't really haunt me. I've accepted it now, but it's still frustrating.
So what is the drive? Did you find it hard to come back after that year and come back in 2008?
Yeah, it was a pretty big downer for a lot of us, but we still love playing the game, and we still had a good squad, and we actually did well with, I would say, probably one of the worst VB teams that we had. So I was actually excited about the following year because we had a talent and everything, and we actually had picked up Ringmaster. Chris was from Westland, was actually living down in VB at that point, and regional in Charlotte. So we knew we were going to have a strong Charlotte because since I started playing after our first regionals 2002, we were attending VDM every year. So I knew that arena like it was nothing.
Yeah, definitely. 2008, yeah, regionals was in Charlotte. Before we talk about results or anything, let's talk about the dryer incident. There is no way around it. So what is this infamous dryer incident? What happened there?
Oh my gosh. So VB, the funny part about VB is I actually was partying before those guys ever partied. When Steve was on the team, because Steve was straight edge. So Steve didn't really drink or anything. That was his whole cup of tea, and a lot of guys didn't. Phil didn't, and a few other people. So I was always kind of like the partier of the team. And then as Scott, Ryan, and everybody got on the team, and they're all becoming 21. I was already 21. I was already drinking. I partied in high school. Started partying kind of heavy. I mean, we were notorious, especially if you ever came to a VB format and you came to the cookout and parties, you knew we partied because you were showing up to the center with a good buzz before the tournament started. But apparently they got Everclear was involved in drinking.
Oh my god!
And that was on a Friday night, so we actually didn't party Saturday night because a lot of people say we partied. Okay. I think Justin said that we partied too hard Saturday night. It was Saturday night. It was Friday night, and one of our guys got really drunk and woke up. I don't know what time of night it was. Decided to stroll down the hotel lobby, pretty much naked. I think he had his he had a shirt on that said "Canada sucks" is what he had wrote on the back because he was trying to get under the nose of the Canadian team, hoping that would mess them up a little bit. He was really drunk, and apparently he somehow put his ass cheeks in a stand-up dryer and took a shit in the dryer. Don't ask me how he did that. I could not figure it out. I'm not going to say names because everybody knows his name, but I'm not going to say names. But I remember I think it was like 4:00 in the morning, my door's getting banged on really hard. And it's Onyx and Turkey and I think Calypso come in my room. And this is going to add something else to the dryer story because a lot of people don't know this. They're like, I was like, what are you guys doing? It's like 4 in the morning. Like, I'm sleeping. We're staying in your room. I'm like, what do you mean you're staying in my room? Somebody shit in the dryer and somebody took a shit in our hotel room.
What the fuck?
I was like, I don't think it was the same person who shit in the dryer that did the hotel room because I think it was somebody else who was really hammered. So to say we're not sure, but I had my suspicions. And I was like, how did somebody shit in your room? Like, what the hell were you guys doing? So they end up staying in my room. The next time I get up, I go to that room. Oh, it smelled god awful.
Oh my god.
The manager that was on duty came up to me and said, "Hey, are you part of the laser tag group that's staying here at the hotel?" I said, "Yes." So he's like, "Yeah, somebody wearing this shirt, which had Canada sucks on the back. Whoever had this shirt on shit in our dryer, and I'm about to go through the cameras. I need to speak to him today, like ASAP." I said, "Sir, we're going to our tournament right now for the first day. When we get back, I promise I will come and speak to you." That was fun times, yeah. That was an interesting conversation because talking to GM, the person who did it offered to give him money for cleaning. He was going to offer him like $80 or $100, pay for the cleaning for it. And talking to the general manager about it and everything, and goes, guys, I was young once too. I've done some crazy stuff in my day, and I'm just thinking to myself, like, did you shit in a dryer or something?
What? That's awesome.
That GM was cool. Like, I literally thought we were all getting kicked out of the hotel because, like, we've been close many years getting kicked out. The last year was in Centerville when we run. Mr. Pink from WYO destroyed that hotel. Like, when I got back from winning that year to that hotel because we weren't driving back, they had locked my room because they thought we were part of the WYO missing team. Like, I mean, I've seen some crazy stuff over the years, but what those guys did that year was just nuts.
Oh my god. Okay. Thank you for sharing. This is what the masses were clamoring for. We needed to talk about.
It's a great conversation starter. Hey guys, Fire, how are you?
That was my exit story.
Yeah.
I have to get off, guys.
Yeah.
I just wanted to hear that. I'll get off and let you guys continue on.
That's fine, man. You take care, Lewis. Get feeling better, right, brother?
See you Friday, probably.
That sounds good. I'll see you Friday.
Bye. See you guys.
All right, here we go. Just adjust it.
Oh, I'm big. Also, too, I am wearing the 2 up, 2 down shirt from that year, so just give you guys a heads up. I would take the shirt off and show off my manly chest, everybody, so you can see the back, but I'll just take a picture of it and post it sometime.
Yeah, fair enough. We don't want this. This is going to be posted on YouTube, so I don't want it to get removed for terms of service infringement.
You might get more views from it too.
Yeah, probably actually. All right, so dryer incident
Yeah, the
done.
Tryout incident.
What was results results wise? I think 2008, like you said, was in Charlotte.
Yeah.
How did you guys?
We were on fire that whole tournament, despite our team being hungover on Saturday. We did lose to Akron again, by the way. I always give them their due credit. Those guys somehow always found it the first game to beat us. Don't know how, but they just always did it. Great guys. I mean, still this day, great guys. Might have different opinions on stuff, but great guys, all of them. We played Toronto in finals. It was Toronto and Madison Heights. For those who have met VB over the years, we have a player on our team named Onyx.
Yes.
Who I love the guy to death. You have to know him to understand him, or else he can be very loud and obnoxious and really can piss people off. He did that. He pissed off half of the Madison Heights team. And I will never give credit, I'll never take the credit away from Toronto winning that year. That top half, Stu, Adam, Justin, I can't remember who else was on that team, Echo, everybody played well in finals. They deserve to win it. The thing that pissed me off the most, and it's like one of those catch-20s, is catch-22s. Why am I saying catch-20? Catch-22 was going to the last game of finals and playing, getting pulled to the side by one of the team members of Madison Heights who came up to me, and I'm not going to name names. I know who did it. I could blast them. It's in the past. But one of their teammates pulled me aside. Hey, I want to give you a heads up, but Onyx has pissed off our team so much. My guys are just going to stand there in front of Toronto, and they're only going to shoot you. They're not going to shoot at Toronto. These certain guys that you named off the 4 people, and I was really upset. I was like, and we were up going into that last game of finals.
Right.
It wasn't by much, but we were up, and I was like, what the hell, and he apologized to me and everything, and we played real quick, and I went off trying to get what points I could. I was very upset. Yes, I mean, Toronto, I don't, if somebody's standing in front of me and shooting the other team, I'm going to tag them too. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. But I was really pissed off about it because it was just a big kick in the nuts, and one of my teammates kind of egged it on.
Right.
And it just sucks that that happened. Like I said, Toronto guys played great. I feel like we should have won regionals. There was no ifs, ands, or buts about it, but shit happens, I guess you can say.
Shit happened that year.
Literally.
Yeah, talking to Justin and talking to Adam as well, I think they kind of were not expecting to win. They were expecting VB to take first place.
Yeah.
Like talking with Justin's podcast, like he had some other factors that he thought might have come into play, but regardless, it sucks when you come out of there feeling cheated, and when you come out of there, it leaves a sour taste in your mouth, right?
And we had gotten a hold of 3 or 4 of the scorecards from the players who never shot a single Toronto person.
Okay.
And I can't remember who took them up and went up to Mission Control with it. It's like, look, like these people did not play the game. And, they didn't, I mean, it's fine. They didn't replay it, but we wanted some kind of action taken against those players. And I don't think it ever happened. It was just frustrating because it made it for we drove back from Charlotte right after that. Charlotte for me is 5 hours at the time when the old center was. It's like 5 hours and 15 minutes for me to get there. It takes me about 5 hours and 40-ish minutes to get to the new location now. Okay. I was just really pissed. The guys were asleep the whole time. I'm driving my car. Like I at the time I was like a heavy smoker and everything. And I'm just like chain smoking, flicking my cigarettes in the window. I probably smoked an entire pack back on that drive. It was just frustrating, very frustrating.
And I think part of the problem is Triple Quest, as always, is a little bit asking for trouble, right?
Yeah, I mean, you got the same thing with Double Quest too. There's pros and cons to it, but that'll be discussed later in the week.
That's Friday, I think. So 2008, did you guys? Oh yes, this is probably the strongest team you've ever had, top to bottom, right? Because there wasn't a lot of players from Virginia Beach on that team, right?
2009? You mean when we went?
No, 2008. I think you guys had a 3-man team going.
Oh yes. It was in Hoffman that year.
So what happened?
So I flew out. Scott flew out. Chris had just moved back to Michigan because he got laid off from his job and he couldn't find a job here. So he just moved back to Michigan. So he drove over. Travis wasn't coming in until like Saturday afternoon / evening because he flew. So we get there. It's on a Wednesday. Scott and I wanted to get there early and, just start getting the prep work ready for everything because we felt like we were going to have a good showing at NAC. That was the year earlier that year. I think Guido had come into town from Lincoln. I kind of took him around Virginia, showed him all the centers, and he was telling me, how excited Lincoln was really looking forward to playing us at NAC, which meant a lot to me to hear that from them because I was excited playing them, especially going the year before, not dropping a single game regionals and nationals. Like I was excited about that, especially playing Guido. And Guido's not. I don't think Guido was ever considered maybe he was top 5 on his team, but he wasn't like the top 2 or 3. And I was excited about playing them guys. And we get to Chicago, and Ryan ends up becoming deathly ill. Ryan was actually driving our other half of the team, which was like a 15-hour drive. So those guys decided, since Ryan wasn't going, well, why should we go?
Yeah.
I was pissed. I was very pissed. We had fundraised a lot of money. I think over $2,000 in money that we had fundraised.
Okay.
Scott and I went out to Idols. If anybody remembers Idols on Wednesday nights, $3 you call it night. Of course, we were working on trying to get Lincoln as drunk as we could. It was quite funny. We were just buying shots and drinks, and we kept the 2 hotel rooms. Scott and Travis had one room, and Chris and I had the other room, and we had a lot of fun. We spent that entire money on us, our meals. We felt like we were owed. I've been screwed over enough years out of buying plane tickets and having to cancel it and eat some of the money and paying for people to go. So Scott and I took full advantage of it, and I don't regret it to this day. So we ended up playing with a rainbow team. I convinced everybody was on board for us to earn points. I don't remember. There was one team that voted against it. I don't remember who it was. Whatever. So we ended up playing. We had picked up like Aunt Lou, Josh. Love the guy to death. That's probably one of my go-to guys for tournaments. We picked up Inspire and a whole bunch of random people. JJ played with them. I think Dog Hunter was on that team too. I think he was really young at the time, but I mean, it was okay. It was nothing special. So we looked. So Scott, Josh, Chris and I were like, so we want to do strategy wise. Let's take the top 4 packs and just have fun and just whatever. And we gave everybody their like my guys wanted their t-shirts and NAC pins. We're like, no, we just gave it to all the people who played with us. And it was a fun rainbow team. And we actually were actually winning games, which was great. It was funny because we played a game against Houston. I took the top pack for that rack. And I destroyed it. I took first that game, and I remember like Ray come to me on a tag Lucian, and he took off running. I remember playing Nick, and Nick took off. Like I destroyed it. Houston won the game overall, but I just remember destroying everybody that game, and that pack was amazing. And I remember coming out and Justin coming up to me and going, "Hey, what pack was that you were playing?" I'm like, "Oh, this pack number." He's like, "Oh, we're playing Lincoln next. We got Echo on that pack." I'm like, yeah, you should take that pack, Justin. And of course, I gave Justin all of our pack info because that year, Toronto didn't really have a good pack information. So we kind of sat down and kind of went over our pack info that we had. And that, I think, really helped out the Toronto guys. And I know Justin was very appreciative of us helping out with it. And kind of hung out with the Toronto guys that weekend, just kind of rooting for them because it was like, East Coast guys always tend to stick together. So no matter if you move out of a region or not.
Toronto ended up upsetting Lincoln. I think that was the game, right?
That was the game, and it was just because of the pack info I gave Justin, and Justin will confirm that. I think you were in the chat when we were talking about that.
Definitely. Well, that must have sucked because like as time would tell, NAC would not be around for much longer. So with a full VB squad, you didn't really have to, that many more opportunities after that to make your mark. But still, the money that you guys had fundraised was for you guys to have a good time at NAC, and a good time you had,
Yeah, well, we canceled 2. I think we had like 4 hotel rooms. We canceled 2 of the hotel rooms, and like I said, we had a good time.
And it's more about being social, hanging out with the guys, like you said, like having fun.
Correct.
We would move to 2009, and 2009, I believe, was the last year that Virginia Beach sent a team. Is
Yes,
that
it
correct?
was.
Go for overall that year for you guys?
We were actually being predicted that year to be at top at finals, and a few people actually predicted us to win that year. Um, it just came down to like we all went because there was no regionals. That was the first year without regionals. We all went. We had that year. Juggernaut and B Money had tried out with us, and Chris Juggernaut had made the team from Charlotte, and we had Alex and Jordan, which is Voltage and Action and Voltage from Richmond, and Ryan Scott, Phil, Onyx, and I can't remember. Raphael was playing on our team too, still, and it was I mean, it was a good team. It was it was very frustrating. Like our first game we played against San Antonio, and I forgot who the other team was. And like we should have won that game. We took second. Like we took like our first 3 games should have been all wins. We took second. It was frustrating because it showed from our practice. It really irked me with our lower half of our team, just for the simple fact is Ryan was offered to pay for their practice because some of those guys didn't have the money. We also, our GM was great because he was letting us demo pack a little bit. Like he'd give us like 15, 20 minutes of demo packing in the briefing room before we went into play, which was really cool. That was for us to work on one-on-ones. And half the guys would not show up and do it. They're like, "Oh, that makes no sense. This makes no sense. Like, why do we need a dogfight?" I don't want to get my ass kicked, is what they would say. And so like half the time it was like Ryan Scott, Phil, and I were always practicing it, and it showed. Us four did very well at NAC, but the people that didn't practice is what hurt us, and probably that was the year that they were filming the Warriors of Light video as well. But it was frustrating. It pissed me off. I mean, you put in so much time and effort all these years, and it was the last straw for me. I mean, when we finally came together at MAC that year, the last game of the night we played against NRH, and I think it was Madison Heights. I can't remember. I think it was Madison. I think it was a Michigan team. And Ryan and I were in the right tower in Vegas. Scott was on the ramp. Onyx was at the bottom of the ramp, and everybody else was kind of like spread out. The tower started with like Sector and Solo, and Ryan and I just ran that tower, just crushed. And like NRH was starting people up. I had Twisted right by me and a few other people. Blue Flame came out there, chased around the tower. Like we played like we did at Centerville 2 years ago. The chemistry that we had just had exploded out of nowhere because we just started getting our groove. And I feel like if we would have played that same day, because that ended in the next day was playoffs, I feel like if we would have continued playing right after that game, I don't think anybody would have stopped us.
You're on a higher motivation.
Crazy. I mean, I came out of the game. I was on fifth pack.
Yeah.
Okay, I won that game by like 900 some points, or we're close to 900. It was like I can't remember 873 or 973. I think it was 873. And the next closest score was like 150, 180 points under me, and it was crazy. But we had that break. And the next day, our bottom half showed when we played Featherweight in playoffs. I mean, I give Featherweight credit. It was the first year for Double Quest. Featherweight was on the good set. They were up by 200-300 points after the first game, and honestly, I wasn't thinking about people would actually scatter in Double Quest. I really didn't think that.
Okay.
And they scattered, and I'm running around. I only scored like that second game. I think I scored just under 300 points. That was actually, I think, my worst game all weekend for me because I couldn't find any points. When I found points, like I went up to the tower, and Onyx and a few people were up there, and I went up there and I said, "Hey, how you guys doing?" Like, "Oh, we're doing good. We got it. And I'm trying to find points this whole damn time because I couldn't find points. Come out of the game, I did fourth or fifth best in our team that game, and I was on fifth pack, so that's about where I should have averaged. And you come out and you see 2 or 3 of your bottom players. Raphael was our last pack. I will give him his credit. He scored what we asked him to score the entire tournament. I will never put any blame on him being one of our bottom half. He actually was one of the only people out of our bottom half that actually would practice when he could with us.
Right.
But he was also had work issues because of his job. But he did practice. But when you have 2 players on your team go single and double digit in that last game, and you had gone up there and asked them how they were doing, oh, we're doing great. It was frustrating. And I think the biggest thing that pissed me off the most after that was the after party. And I had the rental van. I was the only person that was old enough to have the rental vehicle and everything. And I drive us all over to the party. And it's like 20, 30 minutes from where everybody was on the strip. And we get there and like 2-3 people eat. And then they're throwing a fit that they want to go back to the strip. That they don't want to be there at the party. I'm like, and they pissed me off so much where I just drove and dropped them off and went back. It was just a lot of frustration dealing with some of the people that weekend, and I pretty much had killed my drive playing.
That's what did it for you, because that was the last year that VB ever sent a team to NAC, and NAC didn't up until 2012. So after that, like, what was you just didn't have enough people, or were you yourself, you didn't want to continue playing NAC?
Scott, Ryan, Phil, and we were just done. We were just done at that point. We were just they kept, some of them guys kept on playing like a lot of side tournaments, and I was playing a little bit of side tournaments, but we were just done.
Okay. So you were done with Laser Quest in general. Would you play a game here and there? Because I think in 2009, also Richmond 1 closed, right?
Yeah, Richmond 1 closed that year.
Okay.
Some of us went up there and closed out that center. Like, if you remember Richmond 1, it had a whole bunch of barrels in it. We stacked all the barrels up as high as that big right tower, and we got up on top of the barrels and did a group picture. Scott was there. I think Ryan was there and Phil was there. Then afterwards, we went drinking afterwards, and then I was the sober one out of the group, most sober out of the group. So I stopped drinking a couple hours beforehand, and we drove back. We drove back at like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning to VB, which from Richmond 1 to here was about, at least to my house, was like an hour 10, hour 15 in Shockoe Bottom.
So after that, did you keep playing? I think you played a few more side tournaments, right?
Yeah, I played the Mesquite 3-man with Ryan and Travis. That was a lot of fun. They did cash, actually, that tournament, cash prize for that tournament.
Oh, nice.
And, some things that need to be praised, and I really want to praise Mo on that. Mo gave Ryan his money for us after he won, because we were the only team that traveled outside of Texas. I think that came. I don't remember if anybody came from Oklahoma, but I think we were the only team that really traveled far.
Okay.
And Mo gave us his cash money to go have dinner on him, which really says a lot about someone's character. And I'd met Mo, but I didn't really know Mo that well at that time. We would play Halo sometimes together on Xbox and stuff like that. But that was awesome, and that's something I definitely want to point out. But we played Mesquite. Then I got a phone call. I think it was 2011 to run Vegas. I pretty much wasn't playing. I flew out there and just ran the tournament.
Okay.
And when they got to finals, I said, "Okay, guys, I'm done. Like, this is like a vacation for me." So I let them finish up the last little bit of the tournament. But Woody used to be from San Antonio, got moved to Vegas. I knew Woody from San Antonio, and I think Poncho had told him to hit me up. I think it was Paul or Ray, one of them. And so asked me to come out there and run the tournament. So I did, and I had a lot of fun. But that was after that weekend. I was pretty much done with LQ. That just wasn't an enjoyable weekend, and I drank a lot too. I got really hammered. The only time I've ever been blackout drunk, and I don't know. It just wasn't a good weekend for me. At that time I was a little bit in a dark place, I guess you could say, in my personal life, and I just didn't enjoy it. And that was I hung out with a lot of great people that weekend, but it just wasn't a good weekend.
Okay. Well, like, obviously, if you don't enjoy something anymore, now's the time to quit, right? Otherwise, it just becomes unhealthy. So I think you took a bit of a break after that.
I took like 2-3 years off after that. I would pop into VB once in a full blue moon and play a game, but I wouldn't tell anybody, But I pretty much was like done with the competitive side of LQ. I mean, I'm still friends with everybody from VB. Always have been. I talk to a lot of them on a daily basis. When I can. Texting or messaging or Facebook or hangout chats. But there was a lot of pent-up frustration. And there's a few of them I didn't talk to for a long time as well. I was just so irritated and annoyed after that.
Right. Oh, it's part of growing up, I guess. So what?
Yeah.
Obviously, now you're a thriving member of the community. So what actually pulled you back? What got you back in?
Justin, actually, Hot Dice.
Okay.
He was running a tournament in Potomac Mills. It was 4-man, and he begged me and begged me and begged me to finally. He's like, dude, like, how far is it for you? I'm like, it's a 2.5 hour drive. He's like, play. Like, if you don't enjoy your tournament, I will pay for your tournament and I'll give you your gas money. I'm like, I really don't want to play, Justin. I said, but I never got a chance to play with you. We talked about it. I said, what's the team? Eric Papa Smurf was coming out from Federal Way, and Action Alex, who Alex I've always loved playing tournaments with. I said, okay, I'll play.
That's a fun team.
And it was a fun team. We shouldn't have won that tournament. I did not play a game for other than like 2 or 3 times over that 3-year period. And we made it to finals. And we played against Russ, Ryan, Rain, and Voltage. And Voltage is a very, like I've said before, a very underrated player. That is a team that should have won. And
Yeah, definitely.
it took me the first couple games I played, it took me a little bit to get in a groove. When we hit playoffs, I was in that groove. When I hit finals, I don't know if I lost a game in finals. I think I won 2 of the 3 games in finals. I went ape shit. I destroyed it. I tore house. I remember Russ coming out to me, is like, where the fuck do you get all this damn energy? You are bouncing off the walls. Like, how the hell are you still skinny after 3 years of not playing? I was still playing hockey and some other stuff too. So, but it was just funny, and I just went ape shit, and I destroyed it. And next thing I and that kind of leads into another story as well. But it was bittersweet. It was a great win, and it just kind of sparked something in me again.
It
And
must have
I
been.
owe that to Justin, like the Ryan and like Jordan, everybody just giving me props. Like, for somebody who hasn't played in 3 years, you played phenomenal. Like, you played like you never lost a step, and it was just good to hear. I mean, it truly, truly was.
Yeah, definitely. You're coming in like of 2, 3 years hiatus, like you've grown as a person, obviously,
Yeah,
and you come back and you see all of these friends and old school guys, and you realize I still got it.
yeah.
Um, and it's a good thing you did because this was the birth of the hashtag. I think this is what sparked the hashtag, correct?
It was, yeah, because after that tournament, I think Justin, a few of them just started doing hashtag Lucian on everything, and then other people started doing. And next thing I know, Justin's messaging, "Hey, dude, just to let you know, you're trending on the internet right now." I'm like, "How the hell am I trending on the internet?" Like, I didn't even understand hashtags at the time or how they worked, which was crazy. And it was it
I
was
thought that.
it was just funny. It was really funny.
Oh man, you were trending. What were you? Were you trending on like Twitter or?
I had no clue where I was even trending at. Justin just said I was trending, and I just had no clue. And then all of a sudden, you see everybody else commenting hashtag Lucian, all on the forums. I'm just like, okay, sure.
Absolutely hilarious and set you up to win pretty much like every single poll that was on the Facebook
Yeah, I
group.
still win them. I mean, I was predicted to win ELC by myself, and the UK versus Netherlands tournament. I mean, I'm by myself. I'm predicted to win everything now. So
Curious, like from the perspective of one of the players from Singapore that posts
yeah,
on our board, he must think that like you're the greatest player to ever play because you win every single poll and every single like. Oh man, it's hilarious.
I mean, I'm not the greatest player to ever play this game. I definitely will. I do consider myself top 20. There's some people that will argue. I consider myself top 20 because I was never a first pack player. I was always bottom pack or middle pack players, and we just don't ever get our just due on or a recognition for how well we did. I mean, there's so many good players out there, but I've always personally considered myself a top 20 player. But that's everybody's has their own opinions about who is the best and who is the worst. There's a lot of variables to look at.
Definitely, and there's a lot to be said as well. Um, the game kind of the way it works with god packs and like keeping your eye on the score, it's easy to label all the god pack players in history as like the top players to ever play the game. But like you
Yeah.
said, some players who are playing lower pack don't really get their just desserts sometimes, and it's just normal because Everybody else doesn't know the intricacies and the details on how your team functions. Only your teammate are closely aware of that. Um, One thing that switching gears a little bit, one thing that I wanted to commend you for. I only attended, and I've only been to Virginia Beach once, and I attended Bash at the beach, and you were a great host. I remember you came to pick me up at the airport, and we
Yeah,
didn't really know each other like that well back then. Thank you, by the way. That was really
yeah,
cool
you're
because
welcome.
Canadian Virginia, like, I didn't have a car or anything. I didn't know like what the fuck to do to get to the center. But I think this is something that's important to you, right? Whenever somebody comes in Virginia or wherever you're hosting a tournament, you prize yourself in being a great host.
I think that's a big thing, and I think a lot of people have been great hosts. I mean, every tournament I've ever been to has been great. Like coming up, it's like when like SummerSlam was running, like Jamie would take us out to bars and everything. Like, always a lot of people were great hosts. Some weren't the best hosts as well, but I mean, I always had fun. The Chicago guys, always a blast hanging with them. Like freaking Nikon's family, Scott. Like his parents would always put me up. Same thing with Amanda. Like her parents would always, put us up. There's, San Antonio, man, going down there for work trips. By the way, I am still a San Antonio 3-man bar Olympian champion with those guys. And apparently, I'm really good at convincing
Uh,
Vince to come out and drink and hang out with us because I would always somehow get all the old San Antonio guys to come out. But it was just, I don't know. I'm a people person and I like talking to people. I'm very friendly and I make a lot of friends wherever I go. Uh, just how I am. And, I always try to be a great host here. The cookouts that we threw, getting people to and from the airports to their hotels. I remember when Corwin came and Michelle came with them, and I took them up to Williamsburg, which is like during the summertime, that's brutal because you have to
yeah,
go through a tunnel to get there. And the traffic is about average for like to go 2 or 3 miles, about half hour to an hour just to go through that tunnel. And I drove them up there and took took her to the outlet so Michelle could do her shopping. And Kevin, I can't remember his code name from Newington. Had his parents were staying in Williamsburg, so I picked him up and drove him down to VB for the tournament. It's fun, to be a good host. I mean, Guido came to town, took Guido to a whole bunch of centers when he was here. I remember Walker came in from Denver. I couldn't meet up with him. I was working, but I set it up to where he could at least go in the VB center to check it out and play a game. And it's always been fun to have a great host. Rochester, the first year I met them guys, came over from Charlotte VDM and came and played games with us.
yep, that is
It's
really
a
cool.
lot.
And I remember like attending the only VB tournament I've ever attended. Was a great time. Like we had cookouts. We were like you took us sightseeing and stuff. How did the tournament come about? Were you the one that was organizing Bash at the Beach?
Well, the first Bash of the Beach was actually a 5-man.
Okay.
Trunks had approached me and said, "Hey, you want to help me run a tournament?" Sure, because we were at the time we were traveling tournaments, but we felt like we should run a tournament. We have a great area to run a tournament. We have a beach, we have a entertainment city. And so we ran the first time. And actually, the first year we ran it, Hollow Point and the guys came out from Tulsa, Hollow Point, Mankind System. They drove from Tulsa, Oklahoma. I think it was like 21 hours. Like, mad props to them guys. But also, that was
Crazy.
also, that also, too, that year was the year that we almost never had a Bash at the Beach again. We had a abandoned car in our parking lot at VB that had been abandoned for over 30 some days. And this is like
Okay.
2002, 2003. Like, I love my teammates, but I have some stupid ass teammates at the same time back in that day. We were young and immature, and they decided to destroy that car. I mean, they destroyed that car. Thank God nobody ever
Well,
claimed ownership, or else they would have had charges on them. But two of them got arrested in handcuffs. Uh, one of our members there, who was a staff member, had a video camera. I'm not gonna say who it was. Recorded people destroying the car. I'm inside trying to get everything ready. Next thing you know, there are people coming in the room like changing their shirts and clothes because the cops are there because this car got destroyed. And our GM, thank God he didn't cancel that tournament. Yeah, that was a very learning experience for VB because after that, Trunks kind of gave me the ring, and I ran a 4-man. And actually, I tried to win my tournament a few times. I actually stacked my butt off one year for it. One year at the VB 4-man because I wanted to win my own tournament. I never did. Don't regret not winning it because after that I played with some fun teams. But the one year I should have won it, we had like 28 or 29 teams come 4-man. So I had upstairs and downstairs, 3 teams up, 3 teams down, so I could run 6 games, and that was the only way to make that schedule work for that amount of teams. And we ended up running like 2 hours over. We ended up like 9 a.m. But it was the team that year that I played with. It was Ryan, Russ, Blair, and I.
You guys not
Individually,
win.
what?
How did you guys not win? That's an amazing team.
It was an amazing team. Individual stats for that tournament going in the finals, we were individually 1 through 4. That year we had Chicago come in. Like we had a lot of talent. I think I counted like 15 or 16 centers that attended that. And Ryan at the time was still living in Rochester, so he drove over and picked up Blair from I don't know if Blair lived in Brampton or Mississauga, but he ran and picked up Blair and brought Blair down to play with us.
Wow.
And one of the games in finals, Ryan and Blair went single and double digits.
Oh, wow.
That's how brutal Virginia Beach packs are.
They're trash.
You remember those packs?
Oh, yes, I do.
I had a God pack on each set just to balance out the sets. That's how bad they were. And those sets were brutal. And that's what cost us.
Do you remember who you lost against?
I'll be honest. I don't know who we lost against that year. I think it was a VB team. I think it was like Scott and Phil, and
Wow.
I think they were playing with like 2 of the Chicago guys. I can't remember. I know Ronan. I think that year Ronan had come into town, John,
Okay.
and I think he had won the one. We did run a side tournament called the 1v1v1, which was like kind of like a Lord of the Rings style from Ultrazone that we had adapted in the Quest. But I mean, it was a fun tournament. After that, I mean, I was stressed too because running a tournament and playing at the same time is not easy to do. So after that, I stopped kind of playing. A few years I didn't play. Then a couple years I did. One year I got Victimizer and Turkey and Travis all to come out of retirement. We played and we had a blast. And people didn't believe I had Steve or Phil on the team. I'm like, just watch. They're going to show up, and we had a blast. Well, there was another
tournament with when you had that team, that fun team.
Yeah, we were there that year for that. I think.
Yeah.
That was a fun team. We had a blast, and there was one year. We had a couple years. We had the Sunrise guys come up.
Oh, nice.
A far drive, 15-hour drive, and I love them. Those guys were always cool, down to earth. Had fun when I played them in Sunrise. Sandrock wanted to come, but he didn't have a team to play. And at the time, I'd stopped playing the VB format. I was just kind of running it. It's just easier to run a tournament, not play. Yeah. If you're gonna play with a fun team. That way, you're not stressed on 2 different ends. Yeah. So I ended up playing with Sandrock from Sunrise. I played with the Playa from Richmond too, who, if he would get the tournaments, LJ I think could actually hold his own if he would just get out and get some exposure. And I played with Frisch's, Rob Jefferson from Lexington. Okay. And I talked to the guys. I said, so what do you guys want to do? I said, this is a fun team. What do you guys want to do pack-wise? I said, you guys want to try to win a trophy? I know how I play in my own center. You guys want to try to get a trophy? Yeah, we would like to try to get a trophy. I said, okay. I said, you mind if I take first pack? Because I know my center. I know my packs. I knew which packs were God packs to do, which packs were complete ass. At the end of that tournament, I had averaged over 1,000 points a game. I just wrecked face. Nope, second place individual stats was not close to me, and that's the honest God truth. I destroyed it. We got to playoffs. I forgot who we lost to. Just I couldn't do it. It was just we played against a hard team in playoffs. I think it was Scott and Phil. I think. And I couldn't do it. And they know how to shut me down. Those 2 guys do. And they shut me down. And I mean, individual stat wise for prelims, I wrecked face. But when I got into playoffs, like they knew how to shut me down, and they took advantage of taking care of the other guys while they had 2 people on me the whole time, you know. And I mean, I was still scoring well, but I wasn't scoring. Instead of scoring like over 1,000 points, I was scoring like 500 or 600 points. Yeah. And they just played it right.
On your own, yeah. Oh man. I remember good times, like coming down to VB. I wish I would have done it more. It was just very challenging for Montreal because the tickets were about like $600-700 for us to fly to Virginia Beach. So that was.
The next year might be kind of cheap if you want to come down and just hang out for a few days.
Yeah, now it would be, but you know, I don't know what shape I'll be in if I come back to Montreal.
Who says anything about playing? We just go out and just have fun.
Yeah, fair enough. I want to touch on, switching gears a little bit, I want to touch on organizing tournaments because I kind of felt like at some point Justin was organizing like all the tournaments in North America, and
Yeah.
then he took a step back, and then you were pretty much the man. You were the one that was traveling everywhere, organizing tournaments. So how did you segment into this? Why did you take an interest in organization?
I mean, I'm just a passion for the sport. I've always enjoyed playing Laser Quest. I've always enjoyed the people in Laser Quest. I mean, yeah, there's a couple people I don't get along with, but I'm not going to go up to them and say, "Hey, fuck you. I don't like you. I don't want you here." I'll always be friendly with anybody. I always play a tournament with anybody, and that's just my mentality. I
I
guess
think
that's a
the two big ones I really want to get into is how it is the experience running the Vegas, like the very last Vegas 5 man. And after that, we're going to talk about running WLC because that's a really high caliber tournament as well.
Vegas was a heartbreaker for me. I was really sad after that tournament was over. I was actually a little upset with that tournament too. I was definitely not in the best shape to play that tournament. I can't remember. I think that was right before I was in a really bad car accident in October 2018.
Okay.
I was in two car accidents, one in September and then one in October.
Oh, shit.
Was it 18 or 17? 17. 2017. My wife was correcting me. I couldn't remember. So like over the course of like the year or so over that, I was in a lot of pain. So I was nerve damage, neck, everything else. I was not in good shape. So I was not up to par. I was not happy with myself. I played with Russ. I played with Knock. I played with Cougar, and I played with Vic. And I right now I want to personally apologize to some guys because I did not play the way I should have played that tournament. And it's not just from that being hurt too, because when you're hurt, you can still play smart. I also was very stressed with running the tournament as well.
Understandable.
And I feel like I let them guys down. That was not a good tournament for me, and I feel bad to this day about it. But also, it was very sad too. On top of that, because it was the Las Vegas tournament. Big shout out to Rob and Russ. They donated a good chunk of the money for first place. That was the biggest cash prize tournament ever in LQ history. We made a game out of it. Russ was just giving out money randomly to people for like, hey, you got eliminated first from playoffs. Here's $100. We had fun. We took whatever money that I could have made off the tournament, which would have paid for my expenses out there, put right into it. I mean, it was a good send off for Vegas. The biggest thing about that tournament is I commend the last two team of finals, Justin's team and Nick's team.
Yep.
They did not have to go right tower at all.
Right.
We sent Vegas out with a bang.
Yes.
That was the only proper way to do it. That was incredible. And one thing that people don't know about Vegas was supposed to close in December.
Okay.
A lot of people did not know that. It was supposed to close before the tournament in January. LQ extended the lease for us 1 month to let Vegas go out with a big bang. Kenny, who was the old general manager for Charlotte, is now the director of LQ, and he let me in on that insight. And sometimes we might bash LQ corporate because we don't agree with what they do, and it frustrates us and it pisses us off. But I do deep down think they've always cared about us members, and that was one of the nicest gestures they could have done. They didn't have to do that. They could have said, what, bye guys, peace, but they didn't. That to me meant a lot from what LQ corporate did, and Missy, who was running the center because Woody had moved on from Quest. That was awesome. I mean, she was phenomenal, letting me pretty much have control of the center, doing everything I needed, and that was also to Vegas. That was the first Vegas that had been changed up from your typical Vegas 5-man. It was made into a 6-man because that was my dry run for WLC.
Right. Which ended up having a really nice turnout too. And WLC was, I believe, in California, correct?
Yes, it was in San Jose.
So you ran that tournament, but you did not play that tournament, correct?
I filled in twice on Mousetrap James's team just to help out, but I didn't want to play. That was my birthday weekend as well, and we had at the time we were supposed to have like the really good French team come over. We were supposed to have a really good English team come over, and I wanted to make sure the tournament went smooth. That was my biggest thing about WLC is I wanted everything to go smooth. And in the past, especially with Vegas, I got frustrated because I couldn't perform the way I should have. I wanted to make sure everything went off the hitch. And then, after, some of those teams dropped, that when it was kind of like a domino effect, because when the good French team dropped, because there also too was a lot of drama at ELC as well. But when the good French team dropped, that made Nick's team just not want to play. Ryan and Ray, they didn't have to play WLC, but they decided to put a team together and play anyways because I had a lot of money invested in running this tournament to make sure it went off for success.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was a lot of fun. New equipment is always great. I still wish I would have put in San Carlos because the packs there were 10 times better than San Jose. But I would have had Ricky as what I would have dealt with as a GM. But I had a great GM I dealt with in San Jose. I mean, he was awesome. So I mean, I'm very fortunate that LQ worked with us and pretty much gave me full reign and control of what to do.
I want to thank you personally on behalf of everybody from LaserQuest, because it is one thing to run a tournament in your home center and have everybody come in and play in it, but it's an entirely different thing to spend money and spend time and efforts and blood, sweat, and tears into organizing a tournament for your community in which, like, you don't have a dog in this race, right? You're not even playing. So it's really, really cool for you to host these tournaments and organize and I don't think the community can thank you enough for that. Anything you want to add on that?
I mean, it was an awesome experience. I had a blast. I mean, I'd met the French team before they came over at ELC, Hammers and all them guys. They're awesome, nice people. I'm glad they came. I'm glad they had a great experience. I thank them. My biggest whole thing for me was just trying to make sure with WLC, because I had so many teams drop, was making sure I could break even. I almost broke even, and the one thing I want to give a shout out to is everybody who tried to do a collection for me at the end of the tournament.
Cool.
They were trying to give me a collection of money, and I appreciate it. Didn't need it, but appreciate it. Thank you guys very much, and I can't express it enough.
Having run tournaments myself, I know that you barely or rarely break even.
Yeah,
so it's kind of like a selfless, but yeah, that is really cool. And even if it doesn't cover just the act or the thought behind it is amazing.
Well, it was a vacation for me too. So I took my wife to Cali, and then my sister came out to Cali, and my brother-in-law came out to Cali. Like, it was a nice little family vacation that was turned into it, and it was a great experience. And I would not change it for this world.
Definitely. Okay, let's talk about ELC. This is actually an interesting experience because not many North American players have been to play overseas. So talk me through it. How did that go for you?
ELC was a blast. I mean, it was a little difficult. We played with Pyro, Blacker, and I cannot remember the other guys' code name. They were from France. I can't remember exactly what center. It was Travis, Eric, and I. It was a lot of fun. If you ever get a chance to play ELC, I recommend it. It's just it's a whole different vibe than what it was in NAC. And even though we didn't perform as well as we wanted, I wouldn't care. I would go back again and play. It was an awesome experience. And doing the 23-24 pub crawl with Phil and Guilford, and watching Travis drink over 104 shots of Jaeger bombs in like less than 82 hours.
He's insane.
It was a great experience, man. I mean, everybody was friendly to me. I mean, there is bad blood over there. I mean, the English and French, most of them did not get along. There's bad blood. Mm-hmm. But they didn't let that bad blood at least spill onto us who traveled over there to visit. I mean, yes, they had their quarrels where they were going off on each other, but it was a great experience. I got to meet some of the top French players. I'd played against like Vamp and Link and Cam over the years when they've come out. Yep. Never had a chance to play against like Toss and Raiden, and I mean, there's just so many people to say. Dojo, who was he had to be in the 60s, older guy, pretty damn good at. He's probably for his age, he's probably the best quest player around for that age that I've seen.
Probably.
I mean, it was awesome, and just having fun meeting the Dutch guys from the Netherlands, and Eindhoven guys, ID and Team Mikkel, man, just fun people, man. I had a blast playing over there. It was just, it even sparked a more drive into me from playing ELC. That's why I've been trying to do the whole bring NAC back alive, because I know they tried a couple years ago with Denver, and it was very successful. But that's why I kind of want to take it over, because it was such a fun experience.
Just a good time. Results wise,
Alex, are you there?
can you hear me?
You cut out from me. I didn't hear anything you said.
Sorry. Results wise, how did it go for you guys?
Like, we had a strategy to play.
Okay.
When we followed the strategy, we did well. When we didn't follow the strategy, it didn't go well. It's hard when you're like, my French is very broken. I understand bits and pieces. And you're playing with 3 players, 2 of them who don't speak any English. Pyro spoke the best English out of the 3, and it was pretty decent English, but it's like hard to communicate. Like, I can't remember the guy's name, but he came up to me. We had a strategy, like we had a code word to say if you were in trouble to switch spots. He came up and just stood next to me and just looked at me. I'm like,
Yeah.
And I was saying the secret word, like, and he just stood there and just looked at me like I was stupid or something. I was just like, what the hell? But it was tough. We ended up taking, I think it was 5th.
Okay.
No, we took 4th. We took 4th. I take that back. Which was a good result. We lost the plate round to the Dutch guys, which was a lot of fun. But that's just a whole different. I wasn't expecting their style of play. Like imagine like playing Andrea Blue Flame, and she plays on top of you.
Yes.
Imagine a team that plays on top of you like that, where some are her size and some that are even taller than you.
That doesn't sound like a good time at all.
Yeah, and also the Dutch players play on a different set of rules. That's the same with most of Europe. They play on a different set of rules. Like, the Dutch don't really have rules. So, like, what I would consider like cheating, they wouldn't consider cheating.
Okay.
Like, hands on the rings and stuff like that. Like, it's just a different experience, and you have to go over there with an open mind, because I remember the first game I played against. I think it was actually the first game in prelims against the Dutch guys. I was really pissed. I'm like, you guys are cheating your ass off, blah, blah, blah. And then I sat there and I thought about it. I'm like, they play under a different set of rules, and I got to talking to guys, and they're just so cool and so fun to be around.
Yeah.
And I talk to Mikkel all the time. Like, I'm always seeing how they're all doing over there. I actually need to message Cam and Link to see how they're doing. But yeah, it's just a blast. It was just a blast.
That is very much my experience as well. Very welcoming people, and the experience attached to it, other than Quest, makes it so worthwhile. And you just want to go back.
Yeah, I want to go back, and the only thing I regret for that whole trip, and it was a laser tag trip, it was a guy's trip, because Travis has been trying to get me to go for years. The biggest regret I have is not taking my wife.
Okay.
I should have took her on that trip, but I'm very fortunate and very lucky. The woman that I married, granted, I can't do this all the time. I can't do laser tag. Like, I'm hoping to come up to play a tournament in Canada sometime in the near future, but I can't drop a hat, go to every tournament like I used to. But I'm very fortunate that she lets me do the stuff I love to do. Some people don't get that after they get married, because things change when you get married, and they do. Everything has changed. But I do regret not taking her to England, because that's why I never stepped foot in London other than driving through London, because when I go to England, I want to take her to London and have a fun time.
Okay, this pretty much wraps up your history with Laser Quest. Switching gears a little bit, I have a few topics that I want to talk to you about.
Yeah.
Obviously, a staple of this podcast, and it's just fun to do. Let's talk about fantasy, and let's talk about top 5. What do you consider to be your top 5 of all time?
Let's see, Dick York, Dick Sard. No, just kidding. Top 5. I mean, there's so many people, and people are going to think, like, Vince, Ryan, and Adam, those 3 right there, they're no questions about it. Mm-hmm. Plain and simple. Doesn't matter what order. Those 3, there's no questions.
Fair enough.
It's tough. I mean, there's so many good people, but I'm going to do the people that I've played with the most or against over the years, or the consistency that I've seen.
Okay.
I'm going to throw Corwin up there.
Okay.
All around, everything. Like, the 5th spot, I could name so many people.
Yeah.
I could name Nick. I could name Ronan. I could name Clarkness. I could name Dark Angel Ricky. I could name Sifimo, which most people have been naming Mo. The 5th person I want to name, and I'm probably going to get a lot of flack for this, but I have to say Russ Ouija.
Okay. Nice.
You have a guy that had Knoxville and never really had much talent on his team other than Mythos and Shaggy, And the things that he did, winning games with no help whatsoever, to me solidifies his top 5. Yes, he doesn't have the MAC wins like like NRH and Toronto and Brampton and Houston and Lincoln and I mean so many people before him, but I've always felt Russ has always been a top 5 player, and I will always stand by that.
That's actually really cool. And I think right now, like the 5th spot is kind of turning to be the most interesting for me because, like you said, we're getting so many of the same names. So that's actually interesting, and I do think he deserves to be mentioned more than he is right now. Anyway, because
He's been playing forever, and he still plays. You've had people come and go for periods of time, like you could easily say Infester or Pretender from Lincoln, both phenomenal players. But they kind of stopped for a while there after their center closed, which I understand. You could say Aunt Lou from Appleton, Josh, phenomenal player,
yep,
great teammate. You could say him as well. There's so many people you could put in that top 5 spot, but Russ has always been that person, and from the first day I met him until last term I played with him, the last time I seen him play, just will always click right there for me.
solid choice. So I'll give you actually an opportunity to throw some more names out there. So try not to name any of the players you've named before. What would be the top 5 players in their prime?
Prime, you have to put Ronan on there.
Okay.
You have to put Clarkness on there.
Yep, I share that too.
Infester.
Okay.
That's 3. The Force, Steve, phenomenal player. Absolutely phenomenal player.
One more.
Andy Rose, bad Andy.
Yes. So 2 players from Michigan, huh?
Yeah. Michigan had a lot of talent. Had a lot of talent, even though they could never truly come together as a team. It seemed like crazy talent.
Okay, solid choices. And top 5 current players, or we'll say just pre-COVID players.
That's a tough one. You have to put Justin up there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna give a shout out to Shallon Style. He deserves to be up there. He's been very consistent in the tournaments he's played. Knock is another one as well. Current that's still playing. That's played at least the last couple tournaments, and that's counting playing I'm counting people that have played like WLC. Capri Sun, Ray.
Okay.
Ray knows how to turn it up. I want to be funny to say Travis Durr, Majin, because he did 104 shots of Jaeger bombs in the course of less than like 82 hours. But now I'm just being funny. That fifth spot is tough. I mean, I could pick myself. God, there's even with what's going on. I'm gonna probably say Andrea, phenomenal, and as a runner up, I'm gonna say Ricky, Dark Angel. It could go either way between them two.
Yeah, definitely teammates as well. Andrea is like scary good when
she's scary good, absolutely scary good, and probably the best female to ever play this game.
And you could remove female from that sentence, and it's not that far fetched.
Best player. I mean, she's a top 10 player regardless, in my opinion.
Okay, that's out of the way. So this is like the segment of that like people on the news group and on Facebook will hold against you because you didn't shout them out. So it's just saying this is what.
Yeah, I know.
Drama. Okay, very important question I have for you. How did practice come about?
Oh, that's a funny one. Thank you, baby, for the water. Yes. Look, I'm not drinking tonight, guys. So be proud of the somewhat legit practice.
It's H2O practice.
It was actually just a joke. Like, I was playing with Russ and Mythos for Denver, and we teamed up with the Phoenix guys. And I had gone and played a few games one day, and I got done at Quest. I was like, man, I really want to practice for this tournament. Like, because my packs, Virginia Beach packs, are still horrible, and that's probably the most frustrating thing to me. I mean, I went up to the center right before COVID-19 happened to go play a game, and I asked the marshal, like, how many packs have been offline today? And when you say 12 packs have been offline today, that just says something that have had issues.
Yeah.
So I got really frustrated playing with packs. So I said, you know what, fuck it. So I was like, I'm gonna go do some real practice. So I went to the bar and had myself a rum and coke and a beer. Took a picture, posted on the forums. Hey guys, practicing for Denver. See y'all soon. And then I just kept doing it, and then all of a sudden, like a lot of other people just started hopping into it. It was funny.
You're a trendsetter.
I guess, yeah. Like my wife said, she said I'm a trendsetter. So
So we're gonna have like hashtag Lucian trend, and now we should have like hashtag practice.
yeah. And that was,
Already a hashtag.
and I'm surprised it's still going because I don't post it as much as I was doing for a while because I kind of was trying to kill it myself at the same time, but it was fun.
It's still funny, and it's part of keeping the community active, growing the community as well, which is something that you've been like deeply involved with over the past 2 years. I want to know, how did you become like moderator on the group? How did you become the admin basically on the group?
I was put in the group years ago when Justin had started it, and Justin asked me to be an admin because I was like, when I was starting to get back active in 2014 after Potomac Mills, I started getting more active with the scene and commenting and everything. I was a part of the group when it was first established, and I think it was 2011.
Okay.
But Justin had asked me, "Hey, you want to be an admin?" I said, "Sure, why not?" So, and then when Justin stepped away, I kind of took over the entire role for the place, and I added some really good admins in there to help me. I mean, I got Corin, I got Andy, I have you in there as well. I have John and a couple other Greg Snyder and a couple of the other Phoenix guys like helping me out, which has been a tremendous help. Because I can't see everything. I don't have time to see everything. It's bad enough that I have a phone addict sometimes on checking stuff, and my wife will yell at me for it, and that's the damn truth.
Yep, did it today.
There you go. There's your sign.
How easy do you find it moderating the group?
It's pretty easy. I know I know when you take it to a level, and when you don't take it to a level. I know we had a really bad thing happen in the group back in January where I actually had to lock the forum for a day.
Yes.
Stuff was said. I'm not going to say who said it or who it was towards. That was the first time that I felt like it truly got out of hand. But I know the people that are poking and having fun, and yes, I will warn them. Like Adam Echo, I know his sense of humor. I know how he is.
Yeah.
If I feel like he's getting out of hand, I will message him on it and be like, hey. And I've deleted posts from lots of different people that have posted stuff that they should not have posted. But I feel like everybody at least respects what I'm doing in it. I know Jamie Hetfield was a little upset with me on how I was currently handling a situation that had happened in January, but I think he got over it and everything because we were talking on the stream when y'all were the last tournament y'all ran in Canada. I think that was February or March. February, yeah. It was, yeah. So, but I try to go into it as at least a neutral party whenever you do it.
Well, I think also it's cool enough that you're approachable enough of a figure that if there's any issues or there's anything that needs to be addressed, people feel comfortable in just coming straight to you and addressing it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I had that happen at ELC. Quick story, not trying to get off topic too long. But Link came up to me. There was a big controversy at ELC last year. Phil, over there when you play ELC, they do kind of like the WLC rules, but it's a little different.
Okay.
They will key you in, and then they hand you your pack with your name on it. So Phil was given the wrong pack.
Okay.
And so it was in finals, and they were playing against. No, it wasn't finals. It was it? No, it was a game before finals. It was playoffs before finals, and Phil had the wrong pack on. And I know there's a lot of history between both teams. I know both teams have lied before. I know both teams have cheated against each other before. It's a crazy history between them, and I really wish they would just get over it, but I don't think that's ever going to happen. But Link came up to me and told me what happened and asked me my thoughts and opinions on it. Then Phil pulled me over and Phil asked me like, "Hey, like, how would you handle this?" And I gave him my honest opinion. Like that to me, that should have been replayed. That's just my opinion. Phil was running ELC, so he was put in kind of a hard situation. Yeah. So he ended up doing a captain's vote for it, which ended up being no replay, but difference in opinions. But I've had people come up to me at different times on Mesquite. I remember Mesquite one year, the only time I went to Mesquite actually, 3-man, they had issues with schedules, and I had my laptop just pulled up schedules and helped out, because they told me, hey, we're having an issue with schedule, like this one team's going to play like this team 6 times, or is it Kieran from Whitby? Am I saying his name right? How do you say his name?
Okay. Yeah,
Kieran. Sure. I remember I sent him like some. I think it was him. I sent him some like after he posted his schedule for his tournament. I sent him some schedules like, hey, like this might make it a little bit more balanced. You know, I love helping out people, and I'm a very approachable person.
Yeah, definitely. Well, it's just one of the things that you do to grow the community, right?
Yeah.
And what I want to segment into is you have a very interesting piece of content every Friday that's actually really cool. Usually Friday I have something, so I usually can't listen to it live, but I make sure throughout the weekend to just catch the replay.
Yeah.
So it's, I think the official title is Knights of the Drunken Round Table.
It's Knights of the Drunken Round Table, which is square because this is square.
Pretty cool. It's really interesting piece of content. So tell me a little bit about it. Like how did that get started, and where do you want to take it in the future?
Well, I'm going to take it to about 3 years ago.
Okay.
I came to Armageddon, drove up there. I wasn't playing. I was actually going up there to Marshall Tron to help Greg out. And Bad Andy was there and got to talking to him. And, you know, we talked about, hey, let's play Vegas this year together and everything with Aunt Lou, with Josh. And we played with Ginger Spice. And I forgot who our fifth was. But Andy and I were talking, like, you know, it'd be fun if we did a podcast sometime. And Andy were talking about, and it was actually what your podcast is. We were talking about little podcasts like that. And, you know, it never happened. And, you know, when you did your first episode, and I remember that conversation Andy and I had, and I was like, well, Alex kind of is doing what I actually wanted to do. So I said, how can I have fun with this? Make mine different from him. Because I don't want to take away from what Alex is doing, because Alex is doing like the history of each player and when they played with their teams and accomplishments. So I said, so the first podcast was actually just supposed to be for fun, that stream we did. We got drunk. I'm not going to lie. Ray passed out during the podcast, which is my co-host. My wife was, when I got off that night, I told my wife I was not drunk. I was drunk. And I'm one of those people, I hate to admit it when I'm like not right. So
literally the worst.
You heard her. So I was hammered drunk. But I was like, but I had a lot of fun. We brought a lot of people. We got some subjects, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna start talking subjects on it and get like different people, different opinions and perspectives. And that's where I want to go. Of course, you and I talked about some stuff earlier before we started the stream that I want to do in the future with you. And we can include Corwin in some stuff too, because I have some great ideas, because the content's fun to keep people interested in our sport, and also kind of reminiscing about good times and yes, some bad times, you know.
No, I think it's really cool. Also, I want to point out that I've had a few people approach me and being like, is it cool if I do this thing that's like a little bit similar to home? By all means. Like the goal of this is to keep the community alive, have fun with it, and if it can foster creativity and people getting involved, and if it can spark, like my podcast is its own format, and I'm the host and I have my thought, my personality, my ideas. But if we're able to have multiple formats where people bring in their own ideas, their own personality, the more the merrier, right? So by all means, like the more content that's out there, the better it is for the community.
And who knows, you know, somebody just randomly who might be playing Laser Quest or might be playing another form of laser tag that might stumble upon this, and it's like, you know what, you know, those guys have good times and bad times. It sounds like fun. Maybe I should try the competitive scene.
Yeah, definitely. It's funny because I'm also a member of the Armageddon group, and I think it was a podcast that was posted this week after Justin posted his interview. So yeah, by all means, like the more content there is, like the better it is. I'm really enjoying what you're doing, and very looking forward to listen to it. I think it's only going to be an issue when I go back to work, because then I'm not going to have enough time, you know, just to listen to every single piece of content that's out there. But I mean, like, just the fact that it's available, it's amazing.
It seems to me when we get back to normal, I'm going to be cutting back the amount that I do. And I mean, mine's really random and sporadic. So my goal is to eventually tone it back some and get a little bit more, get a little bit more technical and actually try to stay on the goal, because we always kind of very like lead off and like go completely off subject for like an hour, which happens.
Which is still interesting. Like you have folks that have enough experience that they could talk about Laser Quest for hours and hours and not be boring, you know. So like, no, thank you for what you're doing. It's amazing. I'm looking forward to watching it every week.
Well, hey, thank you for what you're doing as well.
Okay, I'm going to segment into some questions that I haven't shown you yet that we haven't discussed the agenda. So nothing too terrible. We've already covered like the dryer incident, so really, how bad can it be, right?
Yeah.
So let's go with this one. What do you consider to be your favorite Vegas moment?
Vegas moment.
Yes.
Ooh. I mean, are you talking about like Quest, or are you just talking about like anything in Vegas?
Either or. By this time, you have so much experience with laser tag and with going Vegas for the weekend. Like, what stands out to you as the best memory?
You know, it's my. I'll tell you what stands out as the most funniest memory for Vegas. One year I played with Big Country with Mike.
Okay.
Awesome time. I've done a few tournaments with the Ohio guys. Like they pranked me the whole way through Canada, and I thought Psycho stole my passport and everything else. And I blamed him the whole time because those guys were pulling pranks on me. And it ended up being in the zipper on the top of my suitcase, which I had no clue. Like I would never guess it would have been in that pocket because I never put anything in that pocket. But Vegas, I played with Country. It was Country, Nikon, Warrior, and I cannot remember who the other person was on our team. We actually were playing really well. We also played as stripper names too. One of us played as Lollipop, which was funny. Nick was there. Nick was pissed, if I remember correctly. Nick was pissed on it. But we were playing a team stripper, stripper names and everything, and we had fun. And one of the team who was in first decided they didn't want the bye to finals. We were actually going to
Okay.
make finals with that team. We were playing really good, and they decided to throw the game so they didn't get the curse, for the bye for Vegas. And so that put us in playoffs with them. I don't remember who was running the Vegas, and we were talking like, do we really want to play this? Like we're in Vegas, like Mike parents had got him the hotel room for Christmas, and Mike invited me, and I didn't have to pay a dime for the hotel, which was really awesome. His parents are excellent; they were great hosts to me when I visited, and I appreciated them doing that for us to go to Vegas. And so we decided 1, 2, 3 strip club. We literally got up, walked outside, called a taxi, left, changed, and went to a strip club and skipped playoffs. Get phone calls on my phone. Where you guys at? We're on our way to the strip club. Where you guys at? You're supposed to be playing in playoffs. You just messed up our entire. And I don't know who ran it. I feel bad that we did that to him, but it was a great Vegas memory because we got screwed over, and then we weren't going to make finals because of it. So we was like, you know what? Fuck it. We're in Vegas. Let's go have fun.
You're in Vegas and you chose boobs and alcohol over laser tag. I think very few people can blame you for that.
Well, actually, I'll be honest with you. It was fun, but man, that's true. Watching. Funny story on Doug, real quick. But
Yep.
watching Doug in the strip club was probably the most exciting thing about going to a strip club because like Doug's like, I'm done with lap dance, I'm done with lap dance. The girl comes up to him and goes, would you like me to rub your shoulders for a minute? He's like, yeah, sure, rub my shoulders. She rubs it. Song ends, $35. I about lost it and laughed. Love you, Warrior, but man, that was funny.
Ooh, that is hilarious. This episode has it all.
Yeah, it does.
Okay. What do you consider to be your individual performance that you're proudest of?
Individual performance that I'm proud of. That's a tough one. I could say like I have BB4 man, how I destroyed everything. I could talk about the game where I won against NRH. I'm gonna be a little bit more humble, and I'm gonna talk about the game in Salt Lake City. This is for you, Vic. So we did the Salt Lake City 5-man. It was a random team that was put together. It was Ryan, Aunt Lou, Josh, Papa Smurf, Eric, and we randomly played. We picked up System like a week before. System from Tulsa.
Good player.
We have won. I don't know. Probably not. Maybe.
Okay.
Oh, we played against Red Sushi. We played against Vic and the Federal guy, the David Burks and Atticus and Lance from Federal. They were definitely the better team on paper. I'd been up for like 30 hours straight. Like I was just wired when we got to Salt Lake City. I couldn't sleep. I tried. I could not sleep. And so we play, and I played great all the way up until about halfway through playoffs. I crashed. I passed on the air hockey table. I remember Josh and Ryan shaking the hell out of me to get me up to go in there and play, and I played like crap. I ended up taking last pack after that because I was not performing So we go into finals. I'm on last pack, and there's only 2 people I can hit: Sushi and Vic, and they're on first and second pack.
Yeah, hard tags.
So who did I stay on the whole time? Those 2. I couldn't touch anybody else. Everybody else lit me up. Burks, Lance, Atticus, I could not touch them. You could have said, Lucian, here's $1 million if you can tag him once. Nope, I couldn't tag him once. Well, I literally, and especially in the last game, I sat there and just railed Vic the last game, and we ended up winning by 17 points.
Nice.
So I always give Vic shit about it. 17 points, 2 tags. And we should not have won, especially like me, like just had this random high and then just coming off of it and just completely exhausted.
That's actually pretty cool. Most players would pick like a game where they got first place, they scored like 1,000 points or something like that. So that's actually a very interesting answer.
I definitely took last on our team for points, but I outscored 2 people on that team. That's what won it.
And what about team performance? What's your proudest team performance? It could be NEC, it could be side tournaments. It's up to you.
I'm not gonna say NEC. NEC, I always felt like I performed really well with my team. Proudest team performance. I could say VB4. I mean, there's so many performances you could say. I'm gonna go with the San Antonio 3-man one year when I played with Ryan and Mousetrap.
Okay.
I played phenomenal that whole tournament. We ended up losing finals. James, I don't know what hell happened to him, but I think it was Vince. I think it was Nick, and I think it was Aviator they were playing with. And like Vince and Ryan, Nick and I were like pretty much all staying around the same points, but then like James just had this really bad game in finals. Because the rivalry at the time was really hot between Houston and NRH. Like when we were playing against like Capri Suns team in playoffs, like I remember Solo and Blue Flame yelling at Ray the whole time. Like, you're losing to an E Scrub, he's beating the shit out of you. So there was that heavy rivalry at that time between them, and they got James out of his game because James was a phenomenal. Oh God, I would play with James again, even though I know there's some controversy with him now, but I would play with him again because he was a phenomenal teammate. Because the thing about James was all I had to do was look at him, and that was how VB was. We never really had yes, we would count out the times for people, but we never had to really say, hey, go to the other side and tag this person from behind and I'm dogfighting, I'll flip my laser. I looked at James, instant, and that was awesome.
You just had that chemistry. Okay.
Yeah. And I played phenomenal that whole tournament. One of the smoothest tournaments I ever went to, and one of the smoothest times I ever played. I just played great. I love playing the San Antonio Centers because for some reason San Antonio was like a second home to me. I just played great in San Antonio.
All right. What do you consider to be the most stupid team meeting you've ever been a part of?
So we're gonna go back to Knoxville for that one.
Okay.
So we were a good team, and I think that was the first year we had Earnhardt on our team, Jeremy. So we were having a meeting going over our usual plan and everything, and Jeremy had to give us this elaborate plan how to beat Centerville. Nothing against anybody that's ever played there, but Centerville. Okay.
Yep.
They gave us like this 30, 45-minute lecture on what we should do and how we should play them and where we should play them. And I was just like, oh my God, somebody just take a gun and shoot me right now. Like, it was the stupidest team meeting I have ever had in my life. I really wanted like that 30, 45 minutes of my life back. Like, no lie. It was retarded. I understand Jeremy, and I understand Jeremy because he felt like they were a threat to us. They were no threat to us at all. It was just funny.
So did you guys win the game against Centerville?
Oh yeah, big time.
All right. What's a location where if you had to pick, budget was unlimited, participants was insured, where would you like to run a tournament?
Where would I like to run a tournament?
Yeah.
I would love to run. Actually, the next style tournament that I'm going to be running in Denver, I would love to run that in VB because I've always tried to push for them to have it in Virginia Beach.
Okay.
Because Virginia Beach, one, we have a beach, we have a great area. Most of the people I know are bar owners and bartenders. Like, it would be a party in itself, the cookout, everything else. Virginia Beach, but I could never have it here until we get the new equipment. The quality of our packs that have been kept up with, and I do think that's hurt LQ on a lot of centers, because I think even though we say sometimes the general public can't notice, but if the equipment's that bad, I think the general public notices. But if we had the new packs, I would love to run it in Virginia Beach. I mean, it's my home center.
Yep.
And I would actually play that and have somebody that would assist me on running it. That way I can run it with no shits given.
Okay. So this actually sparks two questions. I had Justin do this, but you're the hashtag and you're the practice master. So build me a 5-man team. Who gives a fuck? Like if they're good at Laser Quest, build me a 5-man Laser Quest party game / drinking team.
Well, I mean, Travis is a Jaeger King, so I would put him on there. But I will do the same thing. Like Justin said, we need competition.
Okay.
Travis is on his own, and it's the truth. Travis is like on his own level when it comes to drinking. I mean, I drank a lot when we did that pub crawl with Phil. I had at least a drink and a shot at almost every bar we did in 12 hours. It was like 23, 24 bars. By the way, if you ever go to England, do the bar crawl with Phil in Guildford. Excellent.
I think
I had to put a drinking team together. Definitely Zeus, Scott.
Okay.
Scott on there. That's one. How many people is this team?
5.
5. So Scott. I would put Ricky Dark Angel on it because Ricky is just a character in himself.
Yep.
You know, I'm gonna put Mythos up there, Matt.
Yes, definitely.
Drink. I'm gonna put him up there because he'd be a fun person to have on a drinking team.
Okay.
God, there's so many people you could pick out of this. That would be so much fun to drink with. Ray. I gotta have Ray up there.
Okay.
And fuck it, I'm just gonna be selfish. I'm gonna say Ryan on top of that.
Ryan, really? Okay.
I'm just gonna say Ryan just for the hell of it.
Okay. Solid team. I would be curious to see it go against Justin.
There's other people I could pick. Like I could have easily picked like Howie. He can hold his own. Fucking any of those damn guys from fucking John and all them. God, we drank so much after Denver. Like they were coming out with boxes of Mickeys after that tournament in Denver. So any of those guys I'd have my team any day as well. It's a lot of honorable mentions. A lot.
All right. So who's a player that you wished you would have had the chance to play a tournament with, but yeah, you never did. Things didn't pan out.
There's a lot of people I still want to play with. I mean, I'll play with anybody once. There's a lot of people I still want to play with. I could say Adam, I could say Nick, I could say Columbo. The one person that I've been trying to play with, and it just hasn't worked out for us every time, and people have already answered this one, but it's Vince.
Okay.
Vince actually hit me up, and Josh, Aunt Lou, and a few other people, Bad Andy Rose. Hit me up right before I got married. A week before I got married. They actually hit me up a few weeks before that. Say, hey, we decided we're going to go to the Downers Grove Scrim, or Epic Center. Epic Center, I think is what it was.
Yeah. Or
that Danny was put on Flanders, and they were like, hey, you should come and play with us. I'm like, that's a week before I get married. There is no way in hell I'm going to make it. We'll pay for your plane ticket. I'm like, there's no way in hell I'm going to make it. I'm sorry, guys. I really want to. And I think they ended up playing with Jeff and Fester. But Vince and I have been trying to work out a tournament. So that's my number one. But there's a lot of people I still want to play with. You, Corwin, Adam, Nick, Columbo, Shaolin Style. I mean, there is a ton. I even want to play with, even though I did play a tournament with Howie and a mixer, I want to play with him in a tournament. I mean, like, I want to play with Nova. Like, there's a lot of people I want to play with. Like, people are like, well, why do you want to play with them? I want to play with everybody. It's just fun.
Yeah, definitely, and see their take on it and how they interact as a teammate, right?
Correct.
Okay. With your mod experience, who do you consider to be the biggest Laser Quest troll of all time? And I will clarify a little bit because there's a couple of easy answers there, but I want you to think really about not just the quantity of the trolling, but just the quality of it.
I'm probably going to say Onyx. Just barely, just over Adam. And it's not for the fact that Adam's probably is good at what he does on the forums. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about Echo. But when you have a person like Onyx who can piss off and annoy everybody and is intentionally doing it just to get under their skin so they won't play well at a tournament, There's no better art form than that, and that's what Sean always did. He was good at getting people's underskin to make them focus on him in the game, and we just took advantage of it.
Yeah.
Of course, sometimes I went too far too, where he pissed people off and they held like a grudge or what's the word I'm looking for? Vendetta against us.
Yeah.
But
Which kinda sucks.
but Adam and Sean are really close. It's between them two, regardless. But I just say Sean slightly a little bit more just because of the outside trolling.
Okay, fair enough. And also, you've been at the forefront of his accomplishments throughout the years, right, Onyx? So
Yeah.
What is the ride from hell from Memphis?
Ooh. So I went to Memphis 5-man.
Okay.
I stopped off in Knoxville. Assassin Randy from Ohio was living in Charlotte at the time, so stopped off in Knoxville to pick up Mythos and Shaggy. And Assassin hopped in. Originally, we had a couple other players that were supposed to play with me. They all backed out, so I was about to do that 9-hour drive by myself, and it's like 6 hours from there to Memphis. So I convinced Chaos to go with me, and he's like, he didn't have any money or anything. So look, I'll pay for it. I'll buy a carton of cigarettes, blah blah blah. We'll just have fun. I'll pay for your food. I'd already committed to the tournament from Come Again. Mike and his dad were putting on an awesome host, excellent breakfast, best breakfast I ever had waking up after a tournament. His mom was phenomenal at cooking, and so was his dad. But we went to Memphis, and that's like a 15.5-hour drive. So on the way back, we lost Memphis. Russ won, and the trophy was like 6 feet tall. It was the tallest damn trophy I'd ever seen for a tournament. It was bigger than the tournament that Mighty Mouse had done for Centerville 3-man. The main trophy that he had that he just kind of kept in the center. And so we're driving back, and we hit a backup about 80 miles right outside of Nashville. So we're only like 3 hours and maybe 2 hours into the drive. Yeah, it's like 2.5, 3 hours to get to Nashville. So we're like 80 miles back up outside of Nashville because of an accident. So we sit on Interstate 40 for like 7 or 8 hours. I take a nap. I drink a beer. I smoke a cigarette on the middle of the interstate. I lay down on a blanket. Russ is just standing there with his big trophy because we kind of carpooled behind each other, and Jason rode back with him. So I was like, Russ is like standing with his trophy in the middle of the interstate. And that was just a long term because I had to do a U-turn over the giant grass. After sitting there for 6.5 hours not moving, I finally did like a U-turn over the grassy median. We took this back road, which put us back on the interstate 80 miles up right after Nashville. And I've never seen and I know the person died. And I remember I am not a really religious person, but I did say a prayer when I got past that. The front of the cab, it was a chemical spill, and the front of the cab melted.
Ooh.
So it's like a 15-hour drive to get back to VB. Ends up being almost 24 hours because as soon as we got back into Virginia, and like coming across Virginia is like 5 hours the way we had to go around, and we get to Hampton, which I live in Norfolk, Virginia. So there's a tunnel that goes under the water you have to go through to get home. It's like 5 or 6 in the morning, and there's tunnel traffic. I got stuck there for 2 hours. I'm only like 5 miles from my house, and I was pissed. That was the road trip from hell. That was just the worst drive I've ever had for a tournament.
Oh man, I feel your pain. That does not sound like fun, especially after a tournament. You're all sweaty, tired.
Yeah, I was tired. I needed a shower. I was on like a caffeine high. I just needed to crash. Like, oh.
Okay. I have to ask you this one. I asked this question to everybody. Who do you consider to be your biggest Laser Quest role model?
There's a lot of good people you could say, like Mo, like just his like act of kindness, giving like the money to us at the Mesquite 3-man. I mean, there's too many. There's a lot of good people in the Quest world, and I don't think there's a specific person you can really say because there's a lot of different types of role models in the LQ community that have done so much for the game and Insight. But you want me to pick one, though, right?
It's your answer. I would prefer one because most of the players, except Justin, was way.
I'm going to say that my first role model is going to be the first person I met outside my cell, the first person that I ever spoke to, the first person that told us about pack variances, and I'm going to go ahead and say that is Russ Ouija.
Okay.
Because when I first met Russ at regionals in 2001, like I talked to him, he was like the first person to come up and chat with us and told me about pack variances and everything. That was all, and that was a big, that was a big thing to do. And I guess that's my biggest role model, is just a great guy. I mean, just like Vegas, he gave up his own personal money to put towards the prize. Like, who the hell does that? Rob did that as well too. Like, that's another good guy. You don't find that in people these days.
Oh,
And
very cool.
that says a lot about one's character. And I mean, Russ has flew me out for a tournament before to Vegas and everything else, but just that's a big role model because he's always very generous to everybody. And that stands out a lot. And I mean, you could say Corn. Corn's a great person too. I mean, there's a lot of people you can throw, but Russ was the first person I met that I could generally say that was my first role model in LQ.
Cool, very good answer, and I'm really happy to see Russ getting some love as well. He's not talked about enough. We'll just put it that way.
Forget about him because of Knoxville. I mean, it's easy. I mean, but he's a great player. I mean, there's so many great players that don't get the recognition. I mean, you got like Wichita, Showtime, and Interstate.
Yeah.
Those two I remember. And fucking Interstate's like fast as shit, and Showtime's just chilling in the back, just pinging everybody. I mean, there's a lot of good people you can mention.
Cool.
That never get the recognition.
I cannot have you on the podcast and not talk about Denver. Unfortunately, we were supposed to have this amazing tournament that Canada would have won hands down. I'm kidding. We were supposed to have this amazing tournament. You were trying to revive NEC, and we were supposed to have Denver. So what's going on with that tournament?
Denver's definitely going to be postponed. I'm waiting to see what the end of summer brings to decide what to firmly do for, but it's definitely postponed. It'll probably be postponed until next year.
Okay.
I was talking about doing it in January, but I think, like me, I ski and snowboard, so I would love to go to Colorado and ski and snowboard, but I don't think a lot of people really want to go when the weather's that bad, and you have to deal with a blizzard flying in. So I understand that. I respect that. So Denver's definitely be postponed. The center's closed, so I have nobody I can get in contact with. I might have to reach out to corporate because I've emailed the area manager. I do have his number, so I might try calling him tomorrow and talking to him, tell him, hey, I'm going to postpone it right now. It's canceled. But for me, for next year, for Denver, is all going to depend on WLC. We're going to hopefully have that figured out by the end of the summer for the location next year and the dates.
Okay.
There's two places that have expressed interest. Link in France, Center Allon is how you said Allone? Allon?
Allone, Allon. I'm not familiar with that. I've never heard it, but yeah, close enough.
I think it's a center. It's like right near Cannes or whatever. He's expressed interest of holding it, new equipment, and then possibly the Netherlands. I've been talking to Mikkel about it. I'm actually trying to push for them because those guys have never hosted before. Who would not want Amsterdam's an hour-ish north of Eindhoven, so who would not want to go to Amsterdam to play? I mean, the party, and then go down to Eindhoven and play. And plus, like, Van Gogh grew up like not too far from Eindhoven, so like if you love history like I do, that would be a great sightseeing experience. Plus, there's disc golf courses there too, so I want to play some disc golf.
Oh, definitely something to look forward to. Okay, we're almost at we're past 2.5 hours. Jesus. So before we wrap up, and before we go to closing statements, is there anything else we didn't address? Anything else you would like to talk about?
I mean, there's plenty I could talk about. I mean, I could surpass Justin's easily right now, but I think we can always do a part 2 later on and get a little bit more detail on certain things. But I just want to say thank you to the LQ community for supporting me and allowing me to run the tournaments and take the reins of WLC and trusting me to give you guys a good experience on running tournaments. That would be my closing statement.
Okay, very cool. I don't actually have any closing statements. Usually I'm snarky and funny at the end, but I don't know. This was very enjoyable, very insightful. You surprised me with a bunch of your answers, which is really cool. It's always nice, and I think this is going to be a very interesting piece of content for like everybody out there. And like you and I discussed, I'm really excited to see where we take this podcasting, this content creation
Correct
thing in the future, and I'm really excited to work with you. Thank you, sir. Thank you for being on.
Not a problem. Thank you. Just let me know when you're done.